Really good. I cast ALGS yesterday. I'm casting ALGS today. There is no way. There aren't more. I guess there are more ALGS days to cast. I could have done APAC North and South, but then Genome, I think I'd be pretty tired.
Well, yeah, I agree. There have been some long ALGS days in my past, and even for these players, you know, going back to back. Obviously, Group C has to play twice, and yeah, look, some people get up at 2 a.m. to, I don't know, go fishing, to look at the stars.
Sure.
Me, I get up at 2 a.m. to watch European adults play video games. That's just, you know, that's just my happy place.
I think that sounds like a great happy place, in my opinion, Genome. So I'm glad that you're here with us doing exactly that. Now, we've got a lot to talk about here today. Before we get into all of our Match Day 9 stuff, for everybody at home, let's give a little bit of a recap what happened yesterday, because we are on another doubleheader weekend. We just had Match Day 8. Dia, you got to be there. So talk me through these first 3 matches.
Yeah, the adrenaline on Stormpoint was palpable, and especially in our first game, we were talking up the GoNext and Alliance rivalry that is starting to stir in EMEA, or has been stirring throughout the course of this split. But off the back of that, it was Na'Vi that profited with a Game 1 win out in the open on Stormpoint. Alliance did strike back hard, though, with an impressive victory in Game number 2. Chaining constantly these alter jump scares into each other to eventually find the match win in our second game on Stormpoint. Our third and final game on Stormpoint was once again held by Na'Vi, as ultimately Trojan, or Tro07, however you would like to say it, ended up going to fight Alliance really early on and open things up for Na'Vi to swoop in and take a very nice, very clean victory. 2 out of 3 victories for Na'Vi was a great start to the day.
And then we move on to the last 3 games of the series, and in Game 4, it was Kashira who, with a new team, obviously Nasky has left to go join Trojan, and with Taxington and Tyler, he managed to take out the dub in Game 4. When we're moving on to Game 5, it was, for me, it was a little bit of the story of GoNext, who picked up quite a few kills here as we got another one of those City Hall zones. And this has put GoNext in a position to potentially be challenging the behemoths of EMEA. Alliance, they've got a chance to take that #1 spot in Pro League. For On Dogs, they kind of did what they needed to and clutched up in that Game 6. 16 kills for them was a massive result to finish out on. And, you know, they really needed it. That got them a top 5, and they'll probably need another one today. But we could talk about the, you know, potential qualification pass for regional finals a little bit later.
Yeah, definitely a very exciting day yesterday as we get to see what that resulted in for the top 5. Alliance in first by a large margin, but one of the important things to notice is that obviously this is the last day of the regular season, which means Group A will not be playing here today. Alliance is in that group, so this big point sponge, which we talk about a lot throughout the entire season, will not be in the lobby here today, which does open up a lot of opportunity for so many of these other teams, because there are not a lot of opportunities left to get some points on the board. So now that everybody has a little bit of a recap about what happened yesterday, let's dive into what we have to talk about today. It's all about regional finals. We're going to keep talking about this, which teams continue on their journey, and the biggest part of that story will be the fate of the last remaining 8 spots to regional finals. And which of those teams is going to be filling those spots? Let's take a look. Our groups today are groups B and C, and there are many squads that could be filling those slots. We've got Citadel Gaming, we've got cybercats, I mean, Empire, Roadhouse, Ronin, Na'Vi, so many squads in here that are teams that we've been paying attention to throughout the season. So now let's see what that means for our regional standings. We already have quite a few teams that have qualified through to regional finals, and these are the teams that are now on your screen. Alliance up there in first, followed by GoNext, and then Passion being the last team that's qualified so far definitively. There are still 8 spots remaining, and that's what we're really focusing on here today. We'll take a look at the overall scoreboard so everybody at home can kind of see what that means, because This is what happens all the time. As you can see on the scoreboard, it is very, very close. Our teams are separated by just a few points here and there, Genome, and so this is going to be a really important day for our teams.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the series played number there, that'll give you a bit of a key of sort of who we're looking at today. If you're 6, that means your sort of chances of getting into the regional final have mostly been locked in at this point. You know, the fact that we've got Trojan only 1 point away from hitting 56, which I think we've got stapled in there as our, you know, definitely going to qualify position, means the teams, so from say 13 to sort of, you know, 17, 18, they're looking pretty good. From there down, we are looking for some big performances from other teams to try and jump their way up into the top 20 and make it to the regional finals, which will be occurring next week.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of storylines that we have to be following here to see what that means for our team. So let's start kind of narrowing down on which ones we want to be focusing on here today. Dia, I want to start with you. Talk to me about one of the teams that you think will be important for our overall ALGS story.
I'm looking specifically at the team with probably the lowest bar to meet, but one of the highest ceilings in terms of how far they can go. Trojan was a team that, as Nasky talked about in his interview yesterday, is put together for the longevity of the roster. They're planning to take this not just into regional finals, perhaps into champs, but more importantly, into the next coming year of competition. And Trojan have already shown some remarkable consistency, even through roster swaps, starting off the last match day that they played in match day 6 with a 7th place, and yesterday, even after a roster swap, moving into 6th place in a match day where Alliance was playing, where, as you talked about, there was an incredible amount of point sponging going on. The ceiling for the squad is very high, and it does look like their Storm Point, those older maps that are more practiced, are looking a little bit better for them, but they've only got to avoid getting 20th place today. Anything but that will get them 1 point, will get them into the regional finals. So look forward to seeing Trojan in the regional finals. I think today is really about what they're going to look like when they get there. But I want to know, Genome, who are you looking for?
Some people have said Apex is the most complicated right now, competitively, that it's ever been. But I think a team like Ondogs, they've been rising to the challenge, especially considering their relative inexperience at this level of play. But every regional finals, every match point, every LAN that you play really helps get you ready for the future of your competitive career. So I'd love to see them. They'll probably need a top 5 to make it into that regional finals, but I think that's doable for them.
Yeah, I think these are two really strong choices so far as our storylines go. For me, I want to focus on Empire Gaming. Now, if you recall, they were one of those teams that has already qualified through to regional finals, but I would still like to talk about them, okay? The roster of Liffin, Arctic, and Vasate. And now, just because they are qualified for regional finals does not mean that their journey is finished yet. And that's why I think the story is so interesting, because they are a team right now whose champs points do not qualify them through champs points alone. We've talked so many times about there are 3 ways to qualify for champs. It's either winning Pro League and regional finals, your champs points, or LCQ. And right now, they've made the step to regional finals. But if they want to make it to champs, they have to win. Either that, or they then are stuck fighting through LCQ. And that's always a tough spot to be in. But Empire Gaming, coming off of the last time we saw them, had a really strong performance. Not only did they win the day, but they closed it out with a 1st and 2nd place finish on World's Edge, the same map that we'll be starting with here today. So not only are they coming in on a strong map for them, but with a little bit of momentum, hopefully some confidence. And I think that that confidence is best exemplified by the fact that we even got to see a tweet from Bazate as soon as they won first on the day, all caps, Love my teammates. I mean, why wouldn't you? They've shown us that they have the ability to be at the top. It's just about finding that consistency for Empire and being able to do so when you've got the best in the region qualifying through to regional finals. So now that I've kind of started that conversation a little bit, let's just dive into it, okay? Obviously, all of these teams are trying to make their way through to champs. That's what everyone is fighting for at the end of the day. These are our championship standings right now, and what we'll notice here is that the teams with the stars next to them are the teams that are currently doing well for themselves at the top of their region, and that is going to be something important to note because you can see the dotted line. There are only so many points available based off of your championship points. If we were to end everything right now, this is where our teams would be. The stars, once again, like I said, denoting that they are at the top of their region, and that would be a spot that they would then have won through winning their Pro League to get through to champs. If that happens, if they do win their Pro League, their spot in the top 24 based off of champs points then gets bumped down to those teams that you'll see below the dotted line. Now, if every single team that won Pro League also won regional finals, the absolute maximum amount of spots that could then become available are 32. So anybody below that 32 line will not be able to qualify based off of their champs points, but that is also not guaranteed. Maybe only 1, 2, 3, 4 spots opens up below that dotted line. So there are still some things in flux here. Nothing is 100% set yet. So it's going to be a really important day for a lot of these teams, but we keep talking about champs. Do you want to go to champs? I sure hope you do, because ALGS is obviously coming back to Sapporo. We announced that already, but we wanted to give you a little bit more information on when you can get your tickets locked down for the big event. Ticket sales will be live next week on our ticketing partner site, Zyco, on October 11th at 1 a.m. PT, 4 a.m. ET, or 5 p.m. JST during our first regional finals of Split 2. So if you want to get up early and get your tickets, you can absolutely do that, or stay up late, depending what time zone you're in, okay? You can find more information as that day nears on our ALGS website's Year 5 Championships page. See all the latest information about champs here, from tickets to exciting news and updates, okay? I hope to see some of you there in Japan, because it was an absolutely life-changing experience last time around, and I know all of us are very excited to go back yet again. All right, now that we've kind of broken everything down here a little bit, let's start talking about our upcoming matches. We typically, save this for just you two. I wanted to join in here today before, though. So let's talk about our map schedule. I mentioned a little bit earlier, we've got Worlds
And admittedly, Genome, quite a bit of crowding in the southwestern side of the zone. It does seem like we could not get away from Barometer in this whole southwest side yesterday. We'll see if that changes today.
Yeah, I do spy a few circles down on the south side for sure. It always is a question of, we don't have that much data in just one set, in one split of Pro League, right? It's not that many end circles. It's hard to get, like, a solid a solid sample size, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But why don't we have a look at the actual draft here to see where all 40 spots were chosen? Because this, for my money, is the hardest draft of the split, right? E-District, with its equanimity, I suppose, across the board, makes it pretty simple, whereas Stormpoint and World's Edge had a clear pecking order, and it actually makes it quite hard to decide which one to go for first. Now, Empire, they're going for Skyhook West first. That is a fairly common choice because you do get such great loot there over at Trials, Insta Purple, often with a brick coming out of that, and so on and so forth. But you know, there's a time where you're just like, oh, do I need to switch over to Stormpoint now? Do I want to prioritize Trials? Do I want to prioritize, you know, the Tridents over on Stormpoint? It's a hard choice, Glitter.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And it's going to make today that much more exciting. Now we're about just a few seconds away from getting into our matches. So if you weren't able to make it here yesterday, or you won't be able to make the region finals, or you just want to stay up to date with everything we've got going on, follow us on social media, whether that is X, YouTube, our new Insta and TikTok, all of which are Play Apex Esports, or our Twitch, which is of course Play Apex. As long as you're following along with us on there, you won't miss a single second of anything we've got going on. And there's some really fun content that we've got going on over there as well. So, you know, I've mentioned giveaways in the past, so make sure you check that out. But like I said, our match number 1 is ready to get underway. Day 9 is ready to get underway. Dia, Genome, let's dive into it.
Let's do it. Genome, I gotta be real with you. You made me Google the word equanimity. And now,
did I use it correctly?
now I'm educated, but I'm gonna be drawn to using the word way too much today because I've just learned something about it. So
that's the second word
you're gonna have to police me on that.
We had one of our producers bring up historicity before, and it yeah, there's just so many words with great mouthfeel. I feel like I'm at like a cellar right now, like tasting wines with how they're all just like rolling around in my mouth.
Yeah, you get there's so many facets of language to experience, and to bring this back to the game, there's so many facets of this game you can experience, specifically on Face It Watch. As Glitter was just talking about, I would highly recommend Face It Watch. Even if you're not watching the POVs, having the map feed up does completely change the way that you're able to watch Apex Legends, and we're going to be talking about it a lot and bringing you that information if you're able to have it up for your own reference. It is absolutely fantastic. But enough of the dither, Genome. Let's start things off with game 1 on World's Edge.
Alrighty then. Well, here's On Dogs, and you know, continuing some of that conversation I suppose we were having before about drop spots and whatnot. Dia, I thought this was an interesting choice, right? They went for Survey Camp here. I believe it was like the 9th pick, somewhere around there. And obviously, it's not a super great POI, but they did it early enough that I think it did actually manage to force some other people away from Epicenter, so they got both of them to themselves. Anyway, we can forget about that for a second because we do have an early scuffle here, as we often see if teams do get clustered up here across both Monument and Fragment East, and that oftentimes will happen because a team hasn't picked Epicenter.
The scuffle that we're seeing in Monument right now, absolutely caused by some pretty severe imbalance in the draft. The fact that Na'Vi ended up going Fragment and Test Region, the team currently in last place in the region, landed right next door to them, is going to cause some early scuffles because Na'Vi can play with such confidence. The awkward thing about this particular zone is that it also is going to force both teams to stay in the area. Test Region can't really leave, and Na'Vi essentially get 1.5 POIs to themselves since they get Fragment and half of Monument. I believe they've also got a ring console there. The Test Region hit moments ago, so with both squads knowing that we're going Frag Monument for the first and second zone, they're going to be stuck there for a while.
Yep, with that zone heading straight to them, it's going to be harder and harder to get back up on their feet after having lost that early member, and it often happens, you know, that the way that the devs have essentially placed that ring console just makes it a little bit tempting for teams for Fragment to come across there or to shoot at the Monument teams who might be looking to get that early ring knowledge. I think it's one of the nice things that we've seen from both Evo Harvesters and some of the consoles and whatnot in recent times is forcing teams towards each other earlier in the match.
This, however, was completely unforced. The fact that Roadhouse ends up clashing with that very same test region. Na'Vi still looking for a fight, but not wanting to get too involved with whatever shenanigans is happening on the low ground, knowing that they've got a power position for the late game, will stick up here, and with the altar, can choose to extend to take a few of these kills later on. Test region still actually fighting with Roadhouse. This could wrap up at any minute. Right now, it appears the test region are winning the engagement slowly but surely, taking more and more of this building despite having lost Bazin.
To see if they can get him back. Meanwhile, down at the Southern Chokes around Geyser, we've got Ronin, Legion Gaming, Citadel Gaming as well. Potentially looking for some late entrance into this mid-map situation that we're in. NVMI potentially could come to meet Legion Gaming a little bit later on. Nameless is sitting around Harvester as well, but yeah, most people have already made their way into one of the two central POIs, dear.
It's funny how Roadhouse, in contrast, had to make their way right into the center of the map, lose two members, and get right out again, having rotated now towards Lava Siphon, where SJP2, on the opposite journey, have continued their movement straight into Monument. It is going to be a pretty crowded zone. We've still got cybercats approaching from the north. We've got Ronin out in Overlook, getting a little bit more data, and we've got Empire sitting in Countdown. Those three teams making their way in from the northern side of this zone. Well, we still got a lot of space. A team like GoNext, however, up by Epicenter, could very easily run into cybercats should they choose to delay a movement into a couple buildings.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, right? I think sitting on the edge where these icicles are is a pretty common spot to be looking for KP in these zones. It is a little bit risky depending on where it pulls. I think if the zone's a little bit more north than it is currently, it's a lot more of a power position. Right now, I think they're more likely to just get kind of stuffed over and have to make their own desperate scramble in towards the buildings a little later.
No surprise that Caustic is going to be our most picked legend in game number 1, something that has stayed true across most regions, across most days.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw what happened in APAC North last night, dear. For the very first time, we had Caustic be available for all 6 matches.
What
insanity.
What are they playing? What?
Well,
it's not Caustic. What?
Yeah, well, I think what happened essentially was that a single team decided to play Watson with their Newcastle instead of Caustic with their Newcastle in game 1. And so that meant Newcastle went out first, and it sort of made this sort of cascading effect where other legends just kept having slightly more picks than Caustic, and he stuck around for the entire day. It was bizarre.
That's so wild. Such an unusual thing to happen, especially this late in the season when most teams and most comps are already pretty well established. Speaking of, however, the Caustic specifically is going to be getting a lot of value with the amount of buildings in this zone. We knew it when we went to Monument, and it has stayed absolutely true, especially as we pull out a little further towards the western side. I'm noticing Nameless's position down here in the south could be a pretty good one.
It could be. The way I'm reading this, though, is I feel like it is going to be potentially pulling a little bit closer to, say, like the Monument itself, right? So a team like ONIC, SJP2, POT, I think in the buildings are actually going to have good spots. I think if the zone is a little further south, that's when we tend to get the pulls that sit sort of in the pocket outside of those tunnels. And you can sit in the RV down there, you know, those kind of positions, and really reap the rewards of an early setup down there, especially, of course, if you've got that Caustic Newcastle that we've been talking about to help yourself get established in the location. But as you say, depending on where NVMI depend to make their ingress into the circle, Nameless could be waiting for them.
Attentive viewers might have noticed that Roadhouse have made a full recovery. They were down by Big Mod and are starting to move in. So that team, despite getting stymied earlier, trying to make their way into Monument. I don't know what, something is going on with, I think it's with you, Genome. You've made me like want to pick crazy words. Oh no. Oh no.
A bit too much damage from range there. And Taskmaster's on the floor, but I don't know if he's going to stay there for too long. I feel like Pot have got a reasonably good position to get him back. They're playing the Alter, of course. That she is the queen of resets. If you've got an Alter on your team, you probably have the highest chance of getting back on your feet out of anyone when knocked.
Incredible amount of safety, even for Nameless, who are sat in the southern choke right now. Their job really is going to be to watch their backs, where, as we mentioned, Roadhouse are coming from, but you can tell they're extending out, trying to take up as much space as possible, because you've always got the option to retreat with Alter and reset again. Hold this choke for even longer, and hopefully the space around it as well. GoNext are seeking a way into Monument as they are quickly running out of safe space up towards the northern side, but Light doesn't really know how he wants to approach it, and thus they're gonna back off, regroup at the Void Nexus, and try something else in the next little while. This small bit of epicenter that is still in provides a lot of safety for GoNext, but it is temporary because you and I both know we're going further south.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is sort of option B. Like option A that we talked about before is, you know, everyone has to get pushed up underneath them, and it's a killing field for GoNext. This is sort of option B, where other teams that are playing Edge will also be in a similar situation, looking for that high ground on epicenter, and you just fight them, and you just have to hope you are the better team, and perhaps have maybe picked up an extra Evo Harvester or two on your way in order to have the upper hand when you do take that fight.
Roadhouse is starting to sneak up on Nameless. That happening towards the south side of the zone, while towards the north side, Pot starts swinging to look at Empire's position. These two teams actually pretty close to each other, and it looks like South. Roadhouse have kicked off the fight. It is absolutely going their way as well, since Nameless were retreating to this very same position. The Altar Portal can very quickly take them out, but Roadhouse gets shot in the side by none other than NVMI, forcing these three teams to try and reset, coexist for a little while longer. Roadhouse are going to try and hit the reset, leaving just Lufka back to Res Aku, while Blast stays up and keeps this area that they've already claimed.
I'm watching the map, though, and I'm a little bit concerned that Legion Gaming are actually thinking about a zone wrap here. Maybe they're just watching their back. That's probably the more likely scenario here, but you can see the blue team on your bottom right down there. Now they're going back a bit further north. I guess they were worried about maybe someone else doing the same to them. So for now, they will be all attention forward.
I really like the Nameless rotate right into the train cart, however, on height in Monument. That could get them pretty darn far. Difficult to push, difficult to siege. However, with fewer Watsons in the lobby than we'll see once Caustic is banned, you can also get naded out of that cart, something that Nameless will have to be very wary of. Ronin starting to move in behind Legion. Remember, we said Legion was holding their back. Legion are currently completely split up, and having lost one so quickly, it spells disaster for the roster that now needs to regroup and reset.
Yeah, they were kind of watching their back. They weren't really watching their, like, northeast, though. And that's where Ronin have come through. Coming through from Ghost Town, they do get that initial knock, but you know, as we've mentioned, Altar's pretty good, so they do go back to the portal to try and get them up again, but I don't know if they're going to have time with the zone closing in on them now. Ronin might have completely usurped them.
Got another fight brewing with Test Region, but this time it does not go their way.
Awkward.
VC go evict them from the single building they held in Monument. An unfortunate end for Test Region and for Legion Gaming, both squads that had arrived pretty early into the zone. Test Region, albeit faster than most could ever do. Ronin starting to make their move, have run up against Roadhouse, however, and there's very little space to coexist on this south side of the ring.
Oh, these nades could be dangerous because NVMI are also looking from the west. If a single one of those gets a crack, a down, a knock, NVMI could decide to pull the trigger here and complete the pincer maneuver with Roadhouse in the middle of them and Ronin.
Empire going to be taken down, 16 squads left, and NVMI get aggressive on Roadhouse. They've been a constant thorn in the side of this squad, even from the initial 3v3 up against Nameless. NVMI put a stop to all that and are constantly looking for kills on the more unaware Roadhouse members who are forced to focus on teams like Ronin. We've got a quick move being made towards this south side as Ronin do look for a reset. Moby, I think, just a little bit out of range, but I'm watching the top side of my screen, seeing if they can find a res. Roadhouse have found a little bit of safety on the low ground, and Ronin indeed do find a res.
That's crazy. I'm really surprised that NVMI haven't pushed them harder and faster, but I guess they are trying to prioritize their position, which they see as pretty good. Anyone on the south side of the tracks right now is going to be pretty happy. I think your earlier call out of that region was spot on, Dia. So having a look at these two teams, I think they are just so desperate to stay here and not die that they're a little bit worried about pushing. But surely, after that nade, you go in for that, right? What was that, like 150, 200 damage?
It's definitely been enough to push Ronin onto the low ground. And for NVMI, that's basically a win. You may not have taken out the team, but with finding a kill and the space that NVMI now have, the only team to be on these train tracks, it should be securing them. And I say should, at least a top 3. NVMI's issues, though, having been solved, are a sharp contrast to cybercats, who seem to have more and more problems. They've lost a member, they've still got to move, they have no cover, and now they have no Newcastle to make it.
Oh man, yeah, it's been a very slow approach into the zone from cybercats, and eventually they will bleed out and just take the 3 points with them. Look, it's not nothing, but it was certainly tough from where they hail up in Skyhook East.
Take Flyte sitting in one of these few buildings. Take Flyte actually pretty darn close to where we're seeing teams like Trojan sit as well. All these buildings very occupied, and GoNext, unfortunately, not going to be one of the members with a unit. Taken down means that Take Flyte, Citadel Gaming, Na'Vi all sit inside of this building and all have to move south into the likes of VC Go, Trojan, and ONIC.
Yeah, this split has been fantastic for giving us fascinating rings, and I think we're getting another one here. Streamer building, you just rarely see it this occupied this late into the game, and I think up until the last circle, teams were still unsure where this ring were going, and they were kind of just hedging their bets. Now, it's been a clear shift down to the south, and NVMI and Ronin still are sort of occupying those spots, with everyone else really just playing to stay alive here.
Real credit to NVMI here. They extended down to this train cart that SJP2 hold right now and wiped out Nameless. SJP2 have inherited a lot of safety off this, but NVMI show clear proactivity in being able to take out a squad that otherwise should have been safe for a long time. I hesitate to say that SJP2 are even safe, as they, much like Na'Vi, must start moving into the zone. SLR will not make it on this next rotate. Na'Vi, we're about to find out, but with Yarka being shot on the side, with Slab going down, Na'Vi get melted.
No, 3 or 4 different teams coming out of train station and having to try and make their way to an already heavily occupied building here. and you can just see nades, gas grenades going everywhere. Barely any playable space left alive. How many teams are going to come out of this? It feels like they're just dropping like flies at the moment.
SJP2 will fall, and Trojan managed to defend against an attempted kidnap from ONIC. The nades still raining in, though, and zone control is so difficult to manage. Thermites are providing a crazy amount of value inside this building, but they're going to run out eventually. Roadhouse do fall, so that is another team taken off the board, despite having that early reset that went pretty well for them. And Trojan, now out of thermites and out of safety, still are besieged by two different teams, one peeking them from the stairs, one trying to come in the door. Surely this is the end of the road for Trojan. Take Flyte fall, and Trojan follow right after.
Oh, no gas mask available for Nasky, and no chance of him staying alive there. NVMI continue to hold space up the top here. And I think, you know, what you were saying about them pushing out and being proactive is even more impressive when you consider that this is game one, and the teams that they're doing that against most likely have a Newcastle and a Caustic, which makes them very hard to push.
On Dogs getting hemmed into the stairs at the moment. Really awkward spot, given that they do have to leave, in theory, this building, although I don't see them being able to do it. No altar for the squad means that Trix has to pull off a portal play from inside. Billy's got an EMP to rip, making things a little bit more chaotic on the outside. But Trix has got to pull the portal play. Let's see where he goes, sending him off on a mission. Can he find a safe space? Trix places the portal on the lower floor, and On Dogs do end up sending Ronan, taking them out.
But damn, they've got, how many kills is that? 7 kills already on the side of On Dogs, doing very well. VCGO out. ONIC, I love their little spot that they were playing on the outside. And now we've got NVMI peeking over the side here and continuing to pick up KP, but also just secure their unassailable position on the high ground.
NVMI did all their work in the mid game. They know that at this point, the game is theirs to win. ONIC, the last surviving squad on the low ground, stands no chance against the Peacekeepers and the gas that is being rained down on them. YQ's done a lot of damage, but even that cannot challenge the position that NVMI earn as the winners of game one.
Absolutely incredible stuff there. I think that, yeah, that's exactly right, Dia. The mid-game was what put that exactly in the hands of NVMI. They end up with 25 points, and I'm going to be honest, I feel like they almost deserve even more. like so many of those kills were actually hidden away from them because they were inside the building where there's, you know, literally just no way to get those shots in. Also want to give out a shout out to ONIC there, who went second, and they took the unusual step of bunkering up outside the building where you're sort of maybe a little bit more exposed, but actually closer to the end circle. So you avoid a lot of the crush as the other teams come out of the building, and that nets them a second place. Impressive, you know, forethought from them as well.
ONIC were able to collect quite a few kills by playing outside, being one of our few squads not to run the Caustic, but instead to opt into the Rampart for game number one. The amped cover and Sheila gave them the option to clean up basically the entirety of Navi as they tried to rotate in, and that's to say nothing of Take Flyte that came before them. Like you said, the 25 points from NVMI is really impressive, and we've got to give love to On Dogs, who had a crazy Wraith portal. And I say crazy because it took them from inside the building, which was doomed, to inside the building, which was doomed, but it was a play for KP, something that On Dogs really focused on and did well to get themselves into a third place with plenty of points, and that is only game one. Your team focus doing well. We've got some crazy plays out of NVMI, great mid game, and so much more to look forward to as we prep for game two after the short break. from any team, but in this game from NVMI, that really makes me go, man, I love Apex Legends. The macro gameplay that set them up for success into a great end game finish as Kazakh landed a nasty stinger bolt to clear out a couple of teams. I know that Genome had some really nice things to say about ONIC as well, and I'd like to echo that. This is a really creative approach to the game, especially in a meta that is dominated by Caustic. We addressed it in the mid game. The fact that game one, they are running Rampart and making her work by playing in the open space with still just enough cover provided by Newcastle is such a fantastic way to solve the problems of, say, low KP that you might otherwise encounter on World's Edge.
Yeah, I think they also, you know, set themselves up for a little bit more consistency there, being able to then continue with their Rampart into match number 2. Now that Caustic is out of the discussion as he was banned after match number 1. So it'll be interesting to see what we get this time around in terms of the next ring, how that affects what we get out of our squads, and just, you know, what we get. Do we get snowball now out of some of those teams that ended up in the top? Because before ONIC, it was OnDogs that went out in third, and that was one of the teams that Genome had talked about at the top of show as a team that he wanted to focus on. So I think that, you know, so far our storylines are looking up, and match number 2 is going to continue to tell us a little bit more about how the day is going to go. But one thing that I do also want to really kind of nail this point down is the fact that we've gotten to the point in the season now where every single game counts. Sometimes we allow a little bit of lenience to our squads for, you know, maybe taking a match or two to warm up. There is no more time to warm up. This is the last opportunity for these bubble teams to be getting points on the board. So every single match and every point within those matches matters towards their overall performance, Dia.
It really does. In fact, I was thinking about the points as you were saying that, thinking about OnDogs and the fact that they won yesterday. They did pretty well today. What placement would actually be required? If we're saying that 56 points is the cutoff for the regional finals, 25 points gets, so they need to get second place in the match day today, which would give them 21 points on top of the 35 that they have, which would get them 56, which would lock them for regional finals. That's a scary proposition. I know that was a lot of math, guys.
That was impressive.
The thing is that second place is what OnDogs need today. Nothing less than second place guarantees them regional finals, albeit it is possible depending on the performance of other teams.
I am 100% relying on that as fact. So good job.
That's just true. That's just
impressive is what it is.
Yeah.
To happen, whether it's a match day or a LAN, we watch hearts be broken based off of 1 point, which is 1 kill, 1 indecisive moment, 1, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. And it really does matter from the very beginning of today if these teams want to continue on to regional finals, especially if their champs points aren't where they need to be and they want to be on that international stage. That's what today is really all about at the end of it all. As we dive into match number 2, jumping on board with NVMI. They're going to be nice and confident now after that win, but we'll get to see if this ring is going to give them a little bit more information on where they're going to need to be running here.
Our winners of game 1, and again on this south side of the map that actually has a lot of zone pulls that have gone through it historically in EMEA, but they don't get one today, as this ring does appear, if you look in the upper left hand corner of the screen, to pull them out and up towards the north. I would say centering largely around the Harvester area. We don't know, and most importantly, NVMI don't know where the next ring will go. Nameless, however, over in Thermal Station do have a really good idea, as will Pot, who have access to Mirage Etoile really early on, that we're heading into this staging Mirage area, and that should give ONIC a huge advantage if they are able to get the ring scan early. They're going for it right now over at Mirage Etoile, and then ONIC need to hustle into position.
This will be big for ONIC too, considering that they were just able to solidify a second place finish there. So a lot of those teams, and you can kind of see on the map before we went off that they're moving in very quickly. Meanwhile, Navi has already found themselves a potential for some poke damage here. They're going to go for the chase and see if they can maybe hunt down VCGO through that Vault Hunter towards Geyser. Will they be this aggressive, or are they going to back off here? They do all have white shields, so it's not the safest time.
ULTRAMARINES to get EMP ready. Sets Navi up for a good fight. It'll literally take the whole shields off of anyone. That includes VC Go at this point in the game. Ronin, however, wait in Geyser for both teams to rotate in. So if you do start a fight, you want to finish it quickly. And Navi, undaunted right now, push VCGO out and into the arms, the waiting arms of Ronin with a 3-2-1. That's Mirage down.
This is going to be a real rough pinch here for VCGO. They're not going to have anywhere to back off to. The Sheila is out already in the hands of Nate, but he does get knocked from the return fire. This could provide a little bit of breathing room. Ronin able to clean that up, though, and Navi looking to move in quickly after. This could be the downfall of VCGO very early, and they're out.
Pinch between two squads. That was a rock in a hard place. Ronin the rock and Navi. Wait. Rock and no, that would make them both a rock. It doesn't matter. Navi now looking up at Ronin, who have made a recovery. Like you talked about, it was a quick cover of this door with Sheila. Nate got knocked, but instantly picked back up as VCGO were taken care of by Navi. Now no real way out for Navi. Does put them in an awkward position. Do you go out into Ronin, who have now better shields and more loot? Or do you sit in this tunnel for a while and hope that they go away?
Ronin look like they are preparing for another fight if they absolutely need to, and like you said, they know they've got a little bit of an advantage now having gotten the additional loot, but nothing needs to be forced right now between these two squads, and we're going to find a little bit of a lull as both squads are reassessing. Navi potentially 100% backing off and just deciding to make a little bit of a safer rotation, at least into the next ring where they can figure out their next move. Meanwhile, we could take a little bit. Oh, go ahead.
The words I was looking for earlier have come to me. It was unstoppable force and immovable object.
Yes.
Navi, the unstoppable force. Ronin, the immovable object. And actually, I guess we find out what happens, right? Navi, leave the immovable object alone. Ronin get Geyser. Navi keep moving into zone. And as you were alluding to, there are a couple of other teams that have started making their way into zone. Trojan being a big one, sat in what I'd argue is a very good position given the second ring pull we saw.
Yeah, we're getting to see who was able to claim some of that space over on Mirage as well. Pot did back off of it just a little bit. We've got ONIC over their test region, SLR. Pot just wanted to... I wasn't sure if Pot was going to force ONIC off of it. They decided to hold their ground, so they've not forced that fight. But they also have set themselves up well with that high ground and all of those squads around them. They will have those sight lines. Nameless down to a duo right now. Guts low on that health as well, so they've needed to find a little bit of sanctuary here just for a second to get themselves reset.
Really awkward for Nameless as well, given that they land thermal and had ring console scan to get enough information on where this ring was going, but still got out-positioned by Legion in front of them. I want to make a quick note as well that because we saw Pot still on Mirage Etoile, that means ONIC never got a ring console scan from Mirage Etoile. It'll leave them in an awkward position later on because ONIC now just don't really have access to any information, as opposed to, say, a team like Navi, who are rotating in from the side and actually up against Ronin again right now, will have access not just to fights, but hopefully to some consoles.
And now you find Navi with a little bit of that advantage as they are trying to look down and see what Ronin are going to decide to do. They might be using that Geyser to wrap here. Meanwhile, GoNext up on the northern side, finding cybercats in their crosshairs. An opportunity for GoNext to pick up some points here, really kind of clear out that north side. They do decide to back off after getting the first knock and just kind of claim that space over at Countdown.
Works for them, but oh my, these teams are mirroring each other. I want to say that this is a Navi aggressive position, but it feels like Ronin are just as ready to fight at any opportunity. Na'Vi, however, do have the zone advantage, and we're going to use Void Nexi to get back and reset for Ronin. Na'Vi not too anxious to take that one, instead continuing to gatekeep Ronin for as long as possible. This is 3 KP that as long as you play your cards right, you are going to secure. Nate, last member standing, is going to get EMP'd on top of it all. And this is likely the end of Ronin as Nate falls, and that means they've got 1, maybe 2 members left standing.
This was rough, and this is the indecision that I was talking about earlier. If there's a moment that you just wait a second too long, it could spell your downfall. Ronin now having to run back the way they were originally going, down to a duo. They're going to have to look for a reset here. They're going to head a little bit towards Lava Siphon, see if they can maybe play safer. But Na'Vi did well, holding their position there after they had backed off, knowing that there were only so many opportunities for Ronin to make their way out of Geyser, and picked up an additional point because of it. And now you can see they've got a pretty safe rotation all the way through Monument there, so they'll have a little bit of time to breathe and get some additional information as they head towards that ring console. Meanwhile, we can see where the next shift is going, Dia, and like you mentioned, Trojan are in a pretty comfortable position.
I really like what I'm seeing from Trojan. Take Flyte as well on high ground is going to be in a fantastic spot since they've got the Dorito building that is notoriously hard to besiege. Nameless approach from the south, and I want to really quickly touch on Ronin and what their path to recovery looks like. There is a crafter over at Tree. There's another one over at Harvester. One of these 2 areas should have Ronin rotating through it, simply to get back up to a full 3.
Jumping on board right with ONIC, who is down to a duo, but are still picking up a little bit of KP here. They will need to still recover that banner if they would like to get back up to a 3, but they've got a little bit of high ground to be working with for now, and not really a whole lot of opportunities, so could be playing for just a little bit of a kill heavy game today if they can manage it.
Ronin finally get that respawn. Good for them. This was over at Tree, and so having the whole squad back in the game is going to put them in a much better position. Cybercats, meanwhile, don't really have to move, are playing more defensive inside of this card. Up against GoNext, I wouldn't really rest easy. GoNext have played a quieter game today, but I'm not sure if they are itching to extend or not, especially given that you are on the outside of the ring. Na'Vi, a team that may be going up against GoNext in the near future, but even that could be avoided should they wish.
Well, you're talking about them, so let's jump into a quick listen in with Na'Vi as they kind of weigh their options in where their next move is going to be.
Safe. Can I pop an evac here? I can. Let's stay here.
Be careful, evac.
Stay here and don't do shit for the love of God, or stop shooting your gun every time. Just stay.
Evac.
It's fine. We need them to win each other. Let the team forget about us.
Someone west.
Wait. I will call when it is. Chill, please.
Yeah.
The team is scouting us, the crypto team. They know about us. It's not this team. They know where it is. I think actually it is. But these guys don't know about it. And anyways, if we need, later we just need to smoke here, slide down, and then we can approach them anyways. Later. Because there's a team here, but there's a team only in main building, you know?
Minutes later to this rock, mapping.
These guys are getting shot. It's 2 teams. They are moving up. This guy is already moving up fast as fuck. They need to fight each other.
Can you confirm this rock here, the one on Laurent?
It's just like we talked about, a very avoidable fight for Na'Vi. They aren't engaging with anything yet. They aren't trying to move past GoNext. They are waiting for GoNext and cybercats, maybe even Empire, to take an engagement, knowing that that is their opportunity. We talked about this a little bit yesterday during match day 8, Litter, but in Apex, taking a fair fight is often a waste of time. You'd much rather wait for 2 teams to be distracted and then jump on top of them.
Absolutely. That is the name of the game, is it not? And That might be the moment that Navi seems to have possibly found now, as we see they've moved in and are finally starting to take some shots. Cybercats finding themselves in a tough spot between GoNext and Navi. Slab does go down, but they should be able to stick this res. No, just not barely able to get it there right off the corner of that bin. So that's going to sting a little bit and force Navi to try and maybe sneak their way in a little bit more safely now.
Tough timing, especially with the rain closing, but cybercats have it even rougher. Falling now to a majority of GoNext, actually. Not a whole lot of those kills were picked up by Navi, who exposed their fangs and don't really get anything for it. Hiarka even in trouble, dancing inside some smoke right now, but GoNext have plenty of time to look down at this and try and collect some kills on Navi now.
These teams can just not escape each other. Navi trying to hide behind these bins in just a little corner of safety, trying to get the bat off, able to do so using that knockdown shield. But this is not going to be an easy fight. You can see GoNext having to back off a little bit as they were exposing themselves for just a tad too long and did take a few shots that could give Navi maybe enough time to get that res as well. But that's not a great place to be playing out of here.
Did you notice that GoNext are in the building?
Yeah.
GoNext are in the building right next to Navi. You remember who was there is Trojan, and Trojan have not died, meaning that they have relocated into what is presumably a better spot for end zone. Navi somehow pulling off the res right now with the crypto drone. But I'm taking a look, check it out, up on the bridge on the right-hand side, it's Trojan who are sitting on top, up on high ground.
Ooh. And we've got jumping back in with ONIC as well, who were a duo. I said they didn't have a lot of opportunity for res, but they were able to find it eventually. They are back up to a trio. Navi eventually does go down in this area with GoNext. They didn't really have a lot of safe space to rotate out of once they made it away from that little corner, so that was expected. But Ronin is down on the south side fighting with Nameless, hoping that Sheila can do some more damage in the hands of Nate. She does exactly that, but then Nate goes down and they're eliminated by Nameless, who are able to hold that south side.
Thank God Nameless were able to pull this together, especially after their earlier clash with Legion, who are now looking to take advantage of a scuffle that they just heard happening between Ronin and Nameless. See if they can find a few picks here, because Legion, down one, need every point they can get, and they'll find it. That is an unrecoverable, doesn't even hit the ground before being turned into a box.
Oh, great shots. Great shots there out of Legion. This is going to be some good KP for them as well. They will be able to continue rotating tight around this mountain, but Nameless has moved ahead of them. And now they're going to be finding themselves fighting here in this choke, potentially drawing the attention of Roadhouse and Citadel in the area as well.
Again, only a duo, so they do not have a whole lot of room, maneuverability, or even health, as Guts does dip into the zone real quickly and ultimately gets taken down. We'll see how long the squad is able to last, as every placement point would matter for them, but Nameless go down in 12th.
Legion out shortly after, and here is a look onto Trojan. Not only that, but they were able to get the mythic that was here on the bridge. So now you've got Kraber in the hands of Nasky. They've set themselves up so well for success right now, but Test Region, Empire Gaming are all moving in from the northern side.
As Roadhouse recover, I think they're going to be able to pull off this res. Their focus has to be on how on earth they clamber up to this high ground, but take flight, still hold. This Dorito building has been so good. Newcastle res comes in. Roadhouse have the time to reset. But what they don't have is a safe rotation ahead of them. No Wraith, no Ash. It's going to be all altar portals or nothing.
You know, this is definitely going to be a tough rotate through from the teams on the south side, but now I'm looking at ONIC as well. I'm looking at the map. You've got ONIC and Trojan, the only two teams that are holding space in the next circle right now. And with the likes of Roadhouse and Take Flight, NVMI, Citadel, all on the southern side that will have to move in, this is going to be a big collapse.
This is their game. This is their zone to take advantage of their power position. Let's have a listen in with Take Flight as they fight for the high ground.
I cannot find that.
Fine. Having a medkit here.
Loading in. He's looking up here. It's a solo. Can you pick over with me?
1 second. Having a medkit. 1 second.
He's below me.
We're gonna have to jump down. Just jump down. Jump down. Jump down.
It's a solo on you, Neki, in front of you. Think. He's in front of you on the car. We need to kill him on the car. Close.
I'm taking TP.
I'm swinging.
Swinging him. Can you put TP for me? Or no?
Dead. Put TP for him. I got Kraber. You can raise me here. Come here, Neki. You may have to queue through. Huh?
Bro, no, man.
That was a very, very tough moment there for Take Flight. You could see that they knew who they needed to clear out. That was NVMI, and they were able to do exactly that. But they do go down. ONIC still owning that space. Meanwhile, Empire Gaming have moved in from the north. They're moved into where Trojan was with Roadhouse alongside them. And this is where everything is popping off. Roadhouse go down. Empire follow shortly after, and Trojan continue to be dominant on those tracks.
And now coming up, right to Trojan, like you talked about. This is the team that took down Take Flight, that eliminated the squad in a power position. But ONIC is the team that has inherited that high ground. See what they're able to do with it as ONIC's creative solutions earned them a second place in last game. Can it get them first in this one? With only SLR and Trojan left, Trojan have navigated this game so well. And they have a Kraber. I don't know about this one, Glitter. This could go either way.
I think this is going to be a fun ending. Credit to ONIC, too, though, for being able to acquire that high ground as we wait to see what Nasky does with the final bullet in this Kraber. Will it connect and make a difference? At least it's keeping the teams off of them for now, combined with the Sheila and the Rampart walls. So this could be a big moment for Trojan. ONIC waiting in the wings to see what they do, and SLR just hoping no one looks at them right now off to the side, as they don't have a whole lot of cover to be working with here. This is going to be all down to whichever team makes the first move.
Trojan are going to need nades in order to clear ONIC out from behind this amped cover. There goes one. Skynade not connecting onto EQ, but he watches it. Next one does a tickle of damage, but it's a very awkward spot for 07.
Wow.
And they come right underneath now. Smooth moves. SLR, though, looking to punish.
Oh, this is rough. ONIC looking down onto Trojan as they start doing lots of damage. This could open up. SLR peeking around the side to do damage onto them as well. ONIC doing a great job managing both of these teams below them, forcing them to move in onto Trojan. SLR take Trojan out. It's all down to ONIC on the high ground to close out match number 2 here. The PK putting in work for Zidane, and it's a little ring around the rosy here between these shields before ONIC is able to close out match number 2.
Great close, and like you talked about, the control over other teams was really the focus for me. ONIC have the high ground, but they focus on Trojan, and SLR do as well. Knowing that, the game solves itself for ONIC. SLR don't have sight lines on them, and it is a one-directional bully train that goes from ONIC onto the rest of the lobby.
You know, this is a very small thing, but it happened when we weren't necessarily focusing on it, but ONIC had gone for a kidnap on to Take Flight. They missed the kidnap, but it made Take Flight realize that not only was ONIC aware of their position, but that they didn't necessarily have a safe place to push in as the ring was closing. And that was one of the big reasons that forced Take Flight down below to have to push NVMI and try to go for that KP. That one small kidnap attempt alone really solidified safety for ONIC in that high ground position, and it allowed them to stay there for so long while everybody else was in the middle of chaos, Dia, that I think that alone is one of the biggest factors in why they're able to win that game.
You're so right about that, because Take Flight's decision to go down to the low ground is what opened things up for 07 and for our top performers of this lobby. I mean, fantastically done by Nasky in this game. 8 kills with the position that could have been very passive from Trojan. They could have been them sitting on the low ground in countdown until they were forced out of the building and into the jaws of everyone else. But they were proactive, like you highlighted earlier on. They went for Mythic Crate, like as soon as it spawned on the bridge, and were willing to play the open ground, move from inside a safe building to inside a risky cart, and earn themselves what is ultimately a 3rd place with plenty of KP. That KP, however, matched by ONIC, who, despite getting a little bit stuck around Mirage à Trois, played a fantastic macro game, and again have the consistency of composition that you highlighted coming into this game.
And honestly, shout out to Trojan as well, because they called strong position after strong position, like you were saying. They played it well. It was truly just the, you know, the unfortunate circumstance that is Apex Legends. Sometimes that final move into the next position just was the unlucky one. They happened to be the team that got focused by both of the other 2 teams. So still, Trojan looked very strong. They looked really cohesive there. They had to take a lot of fights around ring 4 that they were successful with. So I see a lot of things that I'm liking out of our top teams here so far, but that is just match number 2 on the day. We still have one more match left on World's Edge. Before we get into it, though, we're going to send it to a short break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
A very solid result. I guess the question is, where do we go from now, right? Because we have Caustic banned. Sure, you can put a Watson in there. Something else, sure. But now that we've had Caustic and Newcastle banned, the bunker composition starts to fall apart a little bit. Do you want to play Gibraltar Rampart? Like, you can. That does allow you to set up in situations sometimes, but it's definitely nowhere near as versatile as what we saw with Newcastle.
Yeah, I'd imagine that at least Rampart is sticking around. Like you talked about, it's a matter of like what you pair with it, but EQ has been leading the lobby so far. ONIC have been looking really good, and over the course of 2 games alone, EQ's got 3.4k damage, which is fantastic. 76% kill participation for the team, and is of course leading the lobby in kills, tied with Nasky, interestingly enough. So ONIC and Trojan have at least that much in common. As of right now, the kills that have kept them going have gotten them a really far distance, especially when we consider game 1, the fact that it was second place with a lot of kills that kept them in the lead. Now, however, that lead is starting to expand as they take the win in our second game and have 7 points over NVMI, the squad in second place.
Yeah, now look, ONIC are, very much qualified for both LAN and the regional finals at this point, but not everyone is right now, Dia. So what we've got here is if it ended with the results as they are right now, this was who would be qualifying for regional finals. This is our top 20, and as you can see, it is so close, right? Now, Killer Whales, they have already played a full series, okay? So they are on 50 points, and it feels like they're going to be sort of the barometer by which teams go up and down and maybe sort of squeak into our top 20 here. OnDogs right now have just done enough to get there, but there's teams below them like VCGO, who are currently on 48 points. All they would need to do is move up into this. They're 13th right now. If they were 9th or higher, all of a sudden they'd push one of these other teams out. But as you can see, it really is all those teams on the bubble. So not Cybercats, Pot, SJP2, OnDogs, and VCGO. Those are sort of the 4 teams that are playing and will probably move around and maybe be able to kick Killer Whales out. Maybe Killer Whales just sneak through into our regional finals next week.
I mean, especially because the graphic that we just showed was based on their positioning right now.
Yes.
Say Trojan, yes. They could end a little bit higher, but they could also end significantly lower. Like we said, Trojan realistically are qualifying for regional finals. The same thing can be said of that on the bubble team, like you talked about, teams like OnDogs, where they're positioning right now in 5th place overall at the moment. We've played 2 games. They're 5th place over the course of those 2 games. Yep. If they drop from that, suddenly they have less than 50 points, and that starts to get really awkward in terms of who's able to overtake them, how many points other teams are soaking up. OnDogs need to stay at this level or higher in order to feel, and I hesitate to even call it safe, in order to feel relevant. Yeah,
exactly. So it's kind of a top 5 for them, and then for some of those other teams who had slightly more points to start with, yeah, they can afford a few more positions, but it's really that 50-point cutoff, I think, that I'm kind of going to be looking about, because so many teams just seem to be clustered around that spot right at the moment.
As of right now, Roadhouse do currently lead over OnDogs, but a couple of other teams that do need to perform today. We talked about OnDogs, Nameless, Vortex, SLR also need to place extraordinarily high in order to secure their regional finals spot. And then we've got teams like Take Flight, Legion, and Test Region. Test Region, an interesting exception, since actually mathematically they cannot qualify for regional finals. This is more of a preparation day for LCQ for them.
Yeah, obviously a lot of these teams, just regional finals is the first step, But, you know, to qualify for Sapporo for a lot of them, they do actually need to then win regional finals, which of course will be a big ask when you've got, you know, teams like Alliance who we're not seeing today. They're trying to snatch that away from you, and that's going to be a tough ask for anybody in the world, let alone the other best teams in the EMEA region.
We didn't talk about this in the pre-show, right? But as of right now, there are 2 teams from EMEA going to champs, barring anything else happening. Regional finals, having a wild winner out of nowhere. As of this very moment, that's what's happening. And if we would need to expand a few more slots, we would need to have some regional finals victors open up more qualifications via champ points to get that number even higher, because right now it is extremely limited, and the reality for this region is that this match day is so important because it gives you another shot at being one of those very few lucky teams that are able to make it to Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through a lot of these scenarios. We've had, you know, people like Zephyr in the background, you know, running some Monte Carlo simulations, a lot of really nerdy stuff as we do finally get into our game 3 here, and it heads up towards north, where Ondogs, I believe, do they not have? Ooh, hard to see. They do? Epicenter?
Epicenter.
Okay, yeah, he's just hovering over it right now. Yeah, okay, so they do have the ring console over there, so hopefully they get that information and start making their move really soon. But yeah, just to finish that point off, Dia, they... Oh, what was I talking about? It was something about champs qualification points.
It was about the Monte Carlos and
yes, right. So I think the most likely scenario is that we have 28 to 30 slots available. I think there might be 1 or 2 teams, like who was it, Certain or Unlimited from APAC North, I think are likely chances to win from outside that top 32 as far as champs points go. And I think we'll probably have, say, 4 to 6 slots open up and be available to our competitors here.
It would be a really nice boon for, again, especially teams in EMEA right now, and for cybercats, who could very much benefit from it, having pushed Empire out of Skyhook West at the moment. Empire are down 1 member, where Take Flyte, who are rotating right off to the north of Monument at the moment, are passing by this test region Na'Vi fight that is a constant in World's Edge, something that I'm sure Test Region is looking forward to getting away from on their next game on Stormpoint. Na'Vi besieging them at the moment seem to have found a way into the building. Now it's time to see what they can do with it. Will Na'Vi overstep and be taken down by Test Region?
Raka has the drone ready to go. We can see drill starting to come through. We've even got the ball ready to go, and if they found some couple of ultimate excels on there. Must have been a very quick looting pass to get over here and take this fight to Test Region immediately. But certainly Na'Vi are looking for this fight. I mean, even just the composition. Maggie, Pathfinder, Crypto, they want the kills.
The fact that they're playing a little more quietly right now, still moving around, so you know Test Region are getting plenty of information on this, and apparently getting kills while all this happens as well. Watson keeping the team extremely safe. Have Na'Vi twiddling their thumbs on the low ground, while Test Region, they've got a space to play.
A bit of a gander up towards Epicenter here, where we can see teams are congregating further towards the north side of it. Nasky adding to his kill total. He is just racking them up today. He was obviously enjoying his little run, you know, being more of a fragger when he was on what is now the Nova Gaia roster, and he's taken the reins back with IGL in this team, but it doesn't stop him putting his name on the leaderboards, apparently.
SJP2 on the way in. Uchako trying to disengage with the Pathfinder as Hiarka heads for the hills with Crypto. Will have the drone back momentarily to try and survive, maybe go invisible as SJP2 finish off the kills. Taking out Slab, again recoverable with the Crypto and with a couple crafters. But Na'Vi and I'm gonna include Test Region are the losers of this place, sitting on top of each other, and with Na'Vi getting so aggressive to pick a fight. It's the perfect timing for SJP2 to come in, claim the building, and a few KP.
It sounds so quiet every now and then, you know? Like, I love it when they just, the observers pan to a spot where there's actually nothing going on and you just get to enjoy the ambience of World's Edge for a few quiet seconds before we go back to non-stop action.
What's the word you used earlier that was
equanimity?
It meant peaceful, like equanimitous? I think we could use that. That sounds like a conjugation of that word.
Look, it's an ever-evolving language, dear. If you want that to be your contribution to the next version of the the Merriam-Webster dictionary, go right ahead.
Yeah, we're all building English, or whatever Frankenstein monster we're calling this at this point. Trojan getting abducted, bit of an awkward spot, but a very defensible one, and most importantly for Trojan, one that is going to be in zone for a very, very long time. And ONIC are right next door to them. Who would have guessed?
Man, I feel like we haven't seen like a full survey cam zone in quite a while where, the teams are actually sitting in the survey buildings themselves until, zone 5 or 6. And that's what the teams are reading it as right now. And certainly it's not high enough to be over the tracks where you often see what you'd call more of like a climatizer zone or like the north respawn beacon zone. So it will be fascinating to see if that happens or if we get, for the 84th time this split, another pullback.
SJP2 have a nice rotate with the Wraith that brings them right into this building. I'm noticing it cut off Trojan as they attempted to take the building as well. So unfortunately, having lost a few, Trojan may not be the only squad. Nameless are getting aggressive onto Empire, who we know is a duo from earlier, unable to recover after the cybercats fight. And though Nameless do need to heal up, Flyte just needs to survive. Should be able to do so. And a disengage into the survey camp area, not really possible. There are a few too many teams this way, which leaves him in the awkward position of having to rotate down into landslide if he wants to get his teammates back.
Yeah, that is a fair distance. And then you will have teams like Roadhouse and Pot waiting on the other side of that. Meanwhile, SLR are going up against Citadel over here in Overlook. Shyheart does chuck the pylon out, gets the finish. Is that enough for the teams to disengage? No, it looks like they are locked in mortal combat.
Oh yeah! Eva, right in the back, is exactly what Citadel ordered. Aren't going to get an easy finish on this Wraith, but still one that is very much possible. Is unfortunately, when you start placing a portal, you can't run very far. Citadel Gaming do manage to finish off the majority and indeed all of the kills on SLR as they do go down, leaving Citadel alone on the east side of the ring. Overlook completely theirs, and Harvester belonging to both Na'Vi and NVMI.
Another fight very far away from the ring. NVMI with that excellent performance in game number 1 here aren't going to be able to find their position early on in game 3. It's going to be a harder route this time, and 9 Impulses making it harder yet again by going down early here.
The Arca getting stinger bolted is revealed, but not actually besieged upon. Finally, the frag from Impulse takes him out. So NVMI clawing their way back into this fight, especially with the res going on to Impulse right now. Uchako's right underneath Kazakh, who has to play carefully on the Sparrow, even with his mobility, as Hardeki and Impulse are just now rejoining the engagement to provide him a little bit of backup. Kazakh's getting sent on. 1 pump. Does not 2 pump Uchako, though. This is taking a little too long. It's a little too nerve-wracking for Kazakh, who's in a 1v2 and will finally get finished off. An Impulse running to save him. Will they make it in time? Kazakh's been finished off. That is a full thirst, but it's a 2v2, and the health advantage belongs to NVMI, but they are really not sure if they want to take this. Na'Vi will eventually fall, and NVMI recover.
Ow. Incredible stuff by NVMI there. I mean, they were split that entire fight. Na'Vi were a unit, and NVMI going up against almost the sort of shadow version of themselves with their name. You know, they were on all three sides, three different sides of Harvester, seemingly couldn't get caught back up through the Void Nexus. And even that Stinger Bolt by Kazakh, you know, pre-patch, that would have absolutely shredded the opposition team, but there all it does is stun himself, but luckily his teammates do come in time to save him.
Nameless make their hold. This is up against cybercats on the north side. Cybercats haven't moved very far, I will say. They more or less spawned in Skyhook and then went, well, I guess we'll just hold out other teams that want to rotate through Skyhook, and it seems to be working well enough for them. Nameless are forced to take an evac tower, and we'll go right on over cybercats and aim for the center of the zone. There are a couple of loot pills that Nameless are going to try and play right now that should provide them temporary safety that is not afforded to teams like NVMI rotating right into Empire Gaming.
Well, NVMI finding yet another fight on the edge of the circle here, and this time it's not going to go their way. A little bit too much to ask to get by Empire in this one, and even Roadhouse getting some knocks from very far away. But now we switch over to Citadel versus Pot.
Doesn't seem to be going too well for Pot, but Citadel 1 HP on the other side of this. Has it very iffy themselves. Reload on the Peacekeeper still necessary. Zuni trying to heal up, but he gets finished off by another squad entirely. Legion Gaming, who start making their way up through the outside of Epicenter. Now look for the finish on Pot themselves, but Rez has gone through. Through the altar portal they go. Calamity goes right into the Watson fences and is lucky to get out of there alive. Can Legion take the duo? Oirain really wants to keep that from happening. Peacekeeper shot right to the face of Sampe. Does force him back, and Watson fences and Generator doing a lot. Ooh. Oirain steps out a bit too far. Legion back off though. I think Potter staying alive.
Wow. Feels like Nameless is looking to come in and maybe have something to say about that. Prestus goes down first, though. Taskmaster needs to finish this off, and he'll take down Guts as well. But, oh my god, there's just so many teams just trickling into Epicenter that this fight just continues. It goes on and on.
The fact that Empire show up last to the fight there is probably the only thing that takes Pot out of this lobby, because they were performing really, really well as a duo. Roadhouse in shambles on the low ground. Do have Lufka down, but recoverable absolutely, especially with this relatively safe Void Nexus. Still do need to defend though, and that's all up to Blasts. We talked about the anchor position yesterday. Blasts needs to do that for his squad, take as much space as possible, and keep Roadhouse in the conversation for who is the last squad standing in Epicenter. Cybercats fall. Blasts does exactly that, keeping the squad safe, and now gets to pull off the res and hopefully get Lufka back into the game.
I thought there were way too many targets there, but somehow Blast actually finishes that one off. It's too much, though. Another team comes in. This time it is Legion Gaming by the look of it. So Roadhouse do try and take their Void Nexus to get out of there. At least the one or two of them that was still not in a death box. There we go. Roadhouse are going to be finally put out of their misery by Nameless.
Sad to see Roadhouse go down after the stunt they just pulled in the center, but somebody had to do it to him, and Nameless were the team. Legion now thinking about, much as they did earlier, do we drop down? Do we try and finish this squad? What is the timing for Legion getting out of here? Because they can't stay forever. Eventually, Legion are going to have to leave the center of Epi, and it's going to be an awkward fight for them no matter what. Right now, taking out Nameless is one big piece of the puzzle they need to solve, but Ronin are still right underneath Legion.
Well, kill leader now here in match 3. It's going to go over the way of Calamitous. But as you can see, the rings actually pulled quite far into Epicenter. ONIC had the best of those buildings, but as far as survey goes,
Did you see that Empire, after finishing off NVMI, who came from Zone, after finishing off Pot on a third party, now have an amazing position in the ring? Trojan unfortunately won't live to see it, but these stalactites are going to provide, stalagmites? Doesn't matter, are going to provide a lot of cover to Empire. Thank you.
Stalactite, hold on tight. Stalagmite might poke you in the butt.
Oh, that's handy. R.I.P. Roden.
Courtesy of Tenacious G, by the way.
SJP2 will fall and go next. Looking at On Dogs right now, a squad that needs to hold on to their 5th place position to have a shot at regional finals. As GoNext aren't even worried about 5th place. They're worried about 1st in the region if they're able to have a good match day today. Empire seem to have mispositioned themselves a little bit in terms of the cover. No Newcastle really hurting them this game. And GoNext take on Dogs and win the fight. Escorting On Dogs from the lobby and making their spot in regional finals a lot riskier.
Oh, they tell them to sit, and they do. And I mean, this is the kind of fight that you have to win if you want to be making those top positions, right? But it's also the reason why a team like GoNext are so far ahead. ONIC are our #1 team in the lobby right now. I want to have a listen in to see if they can win this fight and move back into the circle.
Ok.
Ok.
Mets-le là. Il pique, plutôt pas, c'est crack. Donne celle, les gars. Jouez slow. Bien joué.
Va falloir. Mets-toi des accélérants, tu peux. Va falloir walk-in. Et continue, mec, devant nous.
J'ai 2 accels, gros. Prends. Prends mes 2.
Ok, je mets 2 accels. Je sais vers Zidane.
Ouais,
Je vais mettre un fake ballon, ok? Faut continuer, mec, à gauche, hein. Prends-moi.
Ok, c'est un duo, c'est un duo. Je mets des accels, les gars.
Faut qu'on tue. Je vais TP close.
Ok.
Faut que tu viennes avec moi.
Je vais Yempi, attends Zidane, Attends, j'ai mon Yempi là.
Je te prends le TP.
Je vais Yempi Zidane. Dis-moi quand Yempi.
Vas-y, Yempi maintenant.
Yempi. Voilà.
Watson. Nice. Joue la gauche.
Prends l'espace à gauche, faut qu'on prenne l'espace, évidemment.
Ok. Me scelle, les gars.
Crack. Faut que je sorte, Gun.
Jouez slow.
On doit avoir un crypto close à nous. T'avais pas d'ail.
Capture.
I may not speak French, but I do understand when ONIC are winning like this. Their confidence, their candor in these fights, and their position now has made taking Legion out so simple. Zidane on high ground has plenty of safety with the phase, but ONIC and Take Flight both are playing very small quarters, knowing that there is one last squad in here. There they go. VC
Here we go.
Taken out. ONIC need to take space right now, and you know that means they're sending their Wraith forward. Zidane, the fragger for the squad, is going to look for an alternate angle to take. Not a kidnap, just a space that says, hey, look at me. Do not look at my team. Out goes the amped cover, but this alternate angle from Zidane takes out Pablo, which is the first nail in the coffin for Take Flight. Yiku swings, but now needs a little bit of help from Zidane to stabilize the rest of the roster. Pablo was not finished off. It's 2v2. And Yiku wants to make those numbers an advantage. Zidane covers for him, and Take Flight get a res of their own. No inherent healing on this, though. Pablo's got to heal up on his own. Zidane swings through the fences. Low, but still alive.
That was so risky. I mean, the Wraith could have got snapped in the open there. It does kind of work out in the end, but eventually returns to the fold to take this as a 3v3 with the team. Oh my god, he's got that charged up again already. Is that the same Wraith? It is. There's only one left alive.
And he's going for the same play, finding an angle that forces Take Flight to look at him at the expense of looking at the rest of his team. Kizaron playing small right now. We know we have the Wraith portal back up. When's the EMP coming back up? That is going to be a critical cooldown for them.
Oh my god.
Plays defense on this portal.
Yiku actually
jumps on in, plays safe, plays close range now, peeks with the Peacekeeper, and just holds hands with his team and swings. Take Flight are down 1, Take Flight are down 2, and Take Flight are taken down by ONIC in Game 3.
For the 3rd game in a row, ONIC finish in the top 2. That's 2 matches in a row that they've won, almost 3. I mean, they weren't really that close to winning the first match, but it doesn't matter because they are just so far on top of this lobby right now. That was just like an almost perfect World's Edge from ONIC.
It was. This was that even their first? I don't think it was their first pick. I'm going to double check, but before I check that, let's take a look at how many points they were able to gather across this match and then across World's Edge.
I think they had 20 and 21 as far as picks go. So it's kind of much of a muchness.
Yeah, you're right. They just it didn't really. Yeah, picking staging first. So technically this was their map of choice if we had to go with it, but the fact that that means they get really high priority relatively on something on Stormpoint is actually pretty telling. I'm very curious how that works out for them there. 22 points gathered in the course of this game. Take Flyte, however, right behind them. I do want to emphasize this was a great game from Take Flyte. They were really active. They got plenty of kills on the way in. They did a lot of damage as well. And given the fact that they were playing from the same side as Empire, who were on a rampage through this whole southern side of World's Edge, Take Flyte really come out on top, at least in this game. And for their World's Edge performance overall, it is not a bad look. ONIC, of course, the dominant force in this lobby, 26 points over anyone else, specifically over NVMI. And then when we look a little bit further down, Take Flyte managed to come up big in this game, bringing themselves into the top 5 conversation. So Glitter, this is looking a little bit better for Take Flyte as a team that still needs to secure their spot in the regional finals today.
Yeah, there was a second there where I was like, is this the moment that Take Flyte gets redemption against ONIC from the last match? But Zidane was a force to be reckoned with. I mean, using the Wraith for the off angles, able to be so annoying. The fact that both of those teams were able to get a res before they went back into a re-engage too was completely crazy to me. I didn't think that they were going to be able to do that. I mean, that was a very fun final 3v3 fight, a very protracted fight as well. I mean, that went on for a lot longer than I thought it was going to. ONIC just look so unstoppable right now. And I had mentioned at the beginning of the show, you know, with teams like Alliance out of the equation, does that open up the door for these teams to start getting some points on the board? But when you've got another point sponge in ONIC, it's making it that much harder. I mean, this is exactly why, like you had mentioned earlier, Gino, ONIC is one of those teams that has already found themselves a guaranteed spot for regional finals.
Yeah, they're just looking so strong right now. And I guess if we're looking at some of those other teams like Take Flyte, who actually need a gigantic day to make it into that top 20, like ONIC have almost put first beyond doubt. Not quite. But, you know, it only will take some middling performances for them to wrap it all up after a 60-point World's Edge. So all of a sudden, it's getting a little bit harder for a couple of teams like Take Flyte who really want, you know, a Hail Mary performance to get into that sort of 50-plus point range.
Yeah.
And just to talk about their composition a little bit, real quick. Remember when we had the Newcastle ban and we were like, oh, ONIC's been playing this Newcastle Rampart. What are they going to do? They completely abandoned it. Like, this was a totally different composition from a squad that still looked dominant. They went Crypto, Wraith, Watson. Totally different from the Rampart Newcastle that they were playing earlier.
It's a great point, too. It's a great point. It just also, you know, really shows, it illustrates their versatility. So that was a very fun World's Edge section of the day. Obviously, we still have our Stormpoint matches yet to go, but before we get into that, we need to fill everybody in at home on what you might have missed over the last couple days, because in the last couple days, an entire region finished their regular season. So let's do a quick check-in with exactly what happened. First, talk me through match day 8 here, Gino.
It was another very fun day over in APAC North, and as I mentioned previously on the broadcast, the weirdest thing about this day was that Caustic was available the entire series, did not get banned out. Just absolutely wild result. The only time previously, the latest he's been banned is match 2. So for him to get through 6 is crazy. This was another crazy moment where we saw ULTRAMARINES almost pull off a 1v3. after he gets Momon down here, it's like we're in a 1v1v1 at this point in time. And I was honestly just be like, oh yeah, he's going to win this. Like, he's actually got this. And then all of a sudden, Tyler pulls out the Kramer headshot to even things up, gets the full reset, and is able to take out the win against Penota, I believe. But either way, ULTRAMARINES had an incredible performance. After this game, he was on 33 kills. By the way, we're getting a mid-fight res here with the Thai members dropping right in, and then Riddle Order only just clutch it out against them. But you know, for 2 full resets to come off the back of that, for ULTRAMARINES to win it, it was a crazy game. It was Unlimited who took out the day, of course, with ULTRAMARINES leading them with 33 kills. He needed two kills to get the kill record, which would have only stood for 1 week after Asia got it last week in Apex South, and he ended up with 0 in game 6, and so unfortunately just missed out on holding that record for himself.
Dang. What a day. But of course, it was another double header as well. So not only did they wrap up match day 8, but then we went straight into match day 9 the next day. And the story of match day 9 overall was, of course, Fnatic. They were able to win the series just by 3 points over Sotin in second place, with first, second, and third place to go along with it. But some standout moments here was that match 2 that you saw, where Know About Me was able to get a win. And that was a team that had a strong final day of competition, landing at 5th overall. However, much like Cat Jam on the previous day, it wasn't enough to get them through to regional finals with the results of 23rd place overall. And then Riddle Order here in this match number 5, which is also the same match that they won in match day 8. So maybe 5 is their lucky number. I don't know. Either way, after placements of 6th and 10th on days 8 and 9, that ended up meaning that they settled in the middle of the pack at 10th overall on the leaderboard heading into regional finals. So the fact that we were able to close out this region now gives us our top 20 that will be competing in regional finals, Dia.
Yeah, really looking forward to the regional finals here. And I want to note as well that given that we can still shake these positions up among the top 20 with the additional points from regional finals, Black Sheeps are a team to really keep your eye on. Right now, in terms of chance points globally, they are just hovering outside of safe qualification range and would need a lot more spots to open up, enough to admit teams like Gaia from EMEA. And so look out for Black Sheeps, because their regional finals performance, if they're able to move from 4th to 1st, could be enough to push them into champs qualification status. We'll see.
I love it. It's going to be a very fun event once we finally make our way to Japan. And everybody at home, don't forget that of course, is happening. ALGS is back in Sapporo. So if you missed it earlier, we want to give you all a little bit more information on where you can get your tickets if you want to go, because it's going to be an epic event. Ticket sales will be live next week on our ticketing partners site, Zyko, on October 11th at 1 a.m. PT, 4 a.m. ET, or 5 p.m. JST during our first regional final of Split 2. Of course, you can find more information as that day nears on our ALGS website's Year 5 Championships page. See all the latest information about champs here, from tickets to exciting news and updates. We hope to see you there. It's going to be a very fun event. But if you're wondering, what am I going to do when Split 2 is done? Like, what Apex stuff can I possibly be paying attention to while I'm waiting for champs? Well, we have something for you. If you saw it last year, we did the Red Bull Legends In. I was so excited to be there, and we're going back to Chicago, back to the Godfrey Hotel, live all over again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let's check it out.
Yo, nobody does it like us. The unstoppable, the unbeatable. Are we here now? Let's get it.
We've taken over the Godfrey Hotel. It's different, it's unique, it's nothing you've ever experienced before.
The room was pretty sick. I hope all the competitors sleep well after we kick their.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Let's rock it. Are you kidding?
Everybody's dying the zone. Crook goes down to Timmy and Hal.
I mean, that was insane.
It's Timmy's Legendary Lather, the soap that brings champions to life.
my god.
No. Live in the Godfrey Hotel.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
Older to register. More info can be found at redbull.com/legendsin. And let me tell you, you want to register, you want to try to compete, because that was such a fun event. I cannot wait to see what they do this year. I mean, I know that the players had fun. I had a great time. It's exactly what you need, you know? Well, it's a little less serious. It was really good. It was good.
You said the soap was real. But I Googled it, and if you Google "it's Timmy soap" or "it's Timmy lather," which is a risky Google, you don't find any soap. It's very upsetting. I thought it was like fake, but now that you've said that the soap is real, I need evidence, because the internet isn't talking about this.
The soap was real, and it came in a full toiletries kit. So you know what?
Oh,
yeah,
like with Hal toothpaste.
There was shampoo. It's a whole thing. You're just gonna have to sign up, join us, hang out. You know, bring you back some soap if you need it. Let's take a look at what we've got coming up around the corner here, because like we said, we've wrapped up World's Edge. We're now heading into Storm Point. We've got Watson Band coming up to Storm Point. Dia, let's take a look, like we did the first time around, at what these historical circles could potentially mean for these upcoming matches.
Yeah, I mean, this in EMEA specifically has been a big exclusion of northern zones. We really aren't seeing things like Lightning Rod and Zeus Station. And the fact that we aren't seeing really anything in Black Sands or North Pad as well is very, very strange. Cedo has been largely excluded, which puts a lot of emphasis on things and POIs like Barometer, like Millage, and even some Stormcatcher. But when we're looking at this, like yesterday, we saw Gaia really prioritize playing over by Barometer because of how powerful it is. VC Go are playing there today, Roadhouse are playing out by Millage, and Na'Vi are playing at the Mill. So there is a lot of potential for those teams, including SLR and perhaps even Ronin, to get some crazy good placement points. It'll be very interesting to see how that works out, especially with ONIC operating out of Forbidden Zone, another quick rotating area.
I love it. I love it, Dia. Thank you so much for your analysis. For now, we're going to give you a little bit of a break. I'm going to steal Genome from you, and we are going to dive into match number 4, kicking things off here on Storm Point. Obviously, starting with our back-to-back winners in ONIC right now, Genome. Will they find the same success here on Storm Point? You guys were talking about, you know, did their draft positions matter at all? Kind of back-to-back here, so I think it's just they're just good enough. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, well, it just means that oftentimes you're like, oh, well, they got such a good POI on this map that the other one's going to be terrible, and we expect nothing of them. But it's not quite the case when you get the 2021 picks, where it's obviously a little more even. Now, they've gone for Jurassic here, which I find to be interesting, because especially in the context of what we just saw, Glitter, which was that we have had a lot of zones that have ended around here. And, you know, obviously everyone is picking Tridents first on Storm Point. That's your #1 priority. But after that, you start to wonder about some other things. And I think certainly where these zones have been ending, and lo and behold, we've got another sort of Devo/Launchpad zone. And all of a sudden, they do have a chance to be pulling up around there. And not only that, I mean, they've got potentially 3 Evo halves on the way. They've got one within their POI, another one just above them at River Entrance, and another one on the way to Launchpad. So this gives them so many options in terms of where they want to rotate through and how. It looks like they're actually going to forego at least 1 or 2 of those by taking the balloon past Citadel in Pylon right now.
You know, this is kind of what you were alluding to after you were wrapping up the last match with Dia as well. ONIC has kind of gotten themselves to the point where they have had such a strong performance in the first 3 matches that they can have some middling performances in the last 3 and still be quite comfortable. They've already solidified their spot in regional finals, so they know that they're in for another competition day. They can kind of play this as aggressively as they want to, and there won't be too many repercussions to them, but for the teams around them, depending on who they run into, it could be devastating.
Yeah, exactly. Once the pressure is off ONIC, all of a sudden, you know, maybe they become even more dangerous. It's hard to say, isn't it? But they pull up into the buildings, and you can expect this to be a pretty hot topic. I would absolutely be expecting other people to coming in here and trying to slam that building and take it away from them, because in these kind of zones, it is very sought after.
They've set themselves up well for now. They definitely know that obviously quite a few teams made their way in early as well. You've got OnDogs, VCGO, you've got Cybercats over there, Navi's over there. So people have already claimed some space over in that devastated coast area. But now we're getting an opportunity to see one of the other teams that's on the edge of the next ring. You've got Citadel down here with Trojan, potentially finding themselves in a little bit of a scuffle.
Just waiting to see if there is enough damage, an initial knock, something to get these guys going at it fully fledged, but looks like the fight over at Cedo Station is happening a little more in earnest as Roadhouse actually gets the first knock onto aimbot.
I've been waiting for Roadhouse to kind of pick it up a little bit here and show us the aggression that we know that they're very capable of. Looks like they might be realizing that they've got to start kind of doing exactly that. Nameless having now backed off, Roadhouse claiming that space for at least a short while. Back on board though with this Citadel and Trojan fight. Now we get to see exactly what's going to happen. I was wondering if Trojan had the advantage. They did have better shields, but Kiner is knocked once we're checking back in. Nasky's very low, able to land some nice shots with the PK, but they will have to back off.
Yeah, with Kiner being full kill, looks like Nasky and Nono are going to make their way out here. Well, depends if they can get past Remix Powers. I mean, as you were saying, with a shield difference at the start of the fight, it can be really tough to make that up. And sometimes you want to force a bit more of a poke battle so you can get your blues up first. But if the other team doesn't let you do that, just as Zuni picks the spot. I don't know, he's been playing the, I don't know, magic eye puzzles or something. He can see through the cloak.
Will Trojan be able to recover? We'll have to wait and see what Nono can do, as he is able to escape, and Citadel now own Pylon, which will at least give Citadel Gaming a little bit of breathing room. Meanwhile, Nono trying to rotate out west towards Barrow and see if maybe there's an opportunity to get the team back in the game. You know, and this was... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think something else interesting we're going to see here for the first time since match day 5, Glitter, is we're getting a Rampart ban next. And that means 3 out of the 4 controller legends will be unavailable. And everyone, like, we may actually see a huge uptick in Catalyst.
Literally, you read my mind. You read my mind. That's where I was going next, because, you know, I think people were potentially thinking, where are we going to get some Gibby now that the cars are in play, or is that just no longer where we're going with our squads? And Rampart has just been the by and far favorite for match number 4 here, and so that will very much change, like you're saying, once the majority of those controller legends are no longer available, what we're seeing out of some of these squads. Meanwhile, the rotations here getting a little bit dicey. Citadel Gaming looking to see if they can maybe do some more damage. They've got a couple teams around them now down there at Pylon. So we'll have to see what they're able to kind of eke out there, as Roadhouse are looking to get a little spicy.
Ooh, taking out GoNext. Now, we were talking about GoNext having a chance to actually usurp Alliance at the top of the leaderboards. Of course, nothing will be, you know, finalized until the end of the regional finals next week. But a good performance, I think it's maybe like top 3, something like that, will be enough to actually push GoNext into the first position. But currently, they're sitting off the pace.
Definitely a slower day for them, to be sure. So maybe we'll have to see if they can bring it back in the last couple matches as we get to take a look at our ring as it is continuing to shift south towards Devastated Coast. And all those teams that got in there nice and early are going to be well set up and hopefully able to kind of fend off the rest of those teams. But also that means that because they were there so early, where have they managed to get their shields to? Are they able to do that poke damage? You know, are they able to have enough time to get enough loot, having moved in as early as they did? Only time will tell, as Ronin is now trying to make their push through with SLR being in the way.
This is up, of course, towards Launchpad here. A couple of the teams who probably don't have the beacon scans, aren't sure if, you know, perhaps the ring will come back towards them. They are unaware that it's going to continue pulling south towards teams like VCGO, cybercats, even perhaps ONIC in that building outside of Launchpad, putting themselves in a good spot. Defensive bombardment coming down. CJ's got to move. You can't stand in the middle of that.
Ronin's still trying to figure out how exactly they're going to be handling this fight with SLR. The Altar allowing them a little bit of freedom of movement here so that they can get a safer position, but the ring is close to their backs. They are on its slower side of the zone, but still will have to continue to move in, knowing that even once they are safe in the next ring, it's not literally safe and will have to continue the pathing. And they are able to get ahead of SLR and now can do a little bit of gatekeeping here, see if that works in their favor. But you do have Navi, you can see here, waiting in the wings, potentially looking for a third party.
Yeah, they probably don't have, I don't think they can get on top of the armor. I think that'd be a little too dangerous, but they're certainly going to find some sight lines to be a problem, a thorn in the side of both Ronin and SLR. It felt like SLR thought that maybe they'd stopped the approach from Ronin with the defensive bombardment. Not sure they read that they had the altar and were able to just skitter underneath them and actually get past into the zone, where now the roles are reversed and Ronin are holding SLR out.
I think that was a really strong play on behalf of Ronin here. This will give them an opportunity to get some KP on the board. Crypto EMP does come through, and you can see Nate trying to do some work with the Maggie. It does exactly that, and Ronin are just melting down SLR. One player left. Can Ronin clean it up? But Navi's
oh my god,
third party Genome.
A wild trident bubble appears, and Navi are in here. They don't want any of this KP to go missing. They are going to chase down as much of it as they can, but have they gone too far? They're in the zone right now, and 1, 2, 3 members of ONIC are on the attack. They've come all the way around. They've left that building to Roadhouse, and they are actually looking to do to Navi what they've done to Ronin.
This is what we were talking about, though. ONIC can afford to be unhinged at this point. So now this is just an opportunity. Great EMP out of ONIC as well.
Lifeline?
Try and clean up Navi. Will it work in their favor? Zidane trying to go into the void and see if he can get an off angle. Yeah, again, ONIC looking very healthy. And this is a little bit of a risky situation here for both of these teams, because now the fight's lasting a little bit longer than would have liked. The Arca does go down at the hands of Zidane, and now this is the advantage that ONIC need.
Well, the halo for Navi, an angel appears, and it allows them to stabilize for just a little bit against that EMP and onslaught that was coming out of ONIC. But now, with the amped cover set up, they will be deleted from Game 4.
Dang, ONIC. Navi thought they were good with their third-party push, and ONIC said, not today. We want some more KP. But at the end of the day, that means that no one was chasing Ronin down. So I'm assuming that Ronin got out scot-free.
They are
somewhere in the zone, and they managed to escape.
You could just see them peeking out towards the bottom of the map, out towards Coastal camp, where they have just reset and now will be coming back in towards ONIC, who may have gotten even more KP than they bargained for by taking and winning that fight at Echo.
Oh, that's going to be real spooky scary for Ronin to come back in and have it be ONIC there this time, lying in wait. They do have a lot of amount of damage to EQ, though. So now ONIC finding themselves a little bit in back foot, but you can see how much damage Ronin's already had to take, having to come in from the ring, and Ronin are eventually eliminated. ONIC getting a 2-for-1 special in that corner.
It is insane that they've done that. No one's even come to look at them. I mean, think about how many third parties there were before ONIC were able to take that spot. Either way, we'll switch our focus to some other parts of the map now. We can see ONIC is just barely getting in here, but OnDogs have pinged him out. I think they're very much aware of his positioning here, and unless he can find some really good void passages, I don't know if he's going to be able to survive here.
You know, Pot's been fighting here for a while, and this was definitely a tough spot for them to be in. Nice little rock cover that ONIC was able to find to keep him alive for just a few moments longer, but I don't know how helpful that's going to be. Able to disengage, potentially come back and just kind of play a little bit of a back and forth. God, talk about the survivability right now on ONIC, doing everything he can for Pot. And honestly, it might have been just enough and gotten around the edge of that rock that now OnDogs is no longer looking his way.
Yeah, well, he's way up in the north now, all by himself, and there's a lot of teams stuck up there with him. We've got SJP2, Legion, Nameless, Trojan, and Citadel, who are unlikely to find a home in the next zone. So most of them really just need to start looking at each other and either thin out the herd right now or make a desperate attempt to find a place in Zone 5.
Genome, I don't know if you saw that on the minimap when it just came up, but explain to me how ONIC left their position that Roadhouse took over, and then they come back in after killing two teams completely unpunished and now have a great spot in the next ring. I mean, they are looking unstoppable. Meanwhile, Legion Gaming finally finding that fight, and they are eliminated at the hands of Trojan. Nasky just barely surviving up there on that high ground. Are they going to be able to get a reset, or will Nameless try and take that opportunity to take them out? That's going to be an interesting one up there. But Pod have survived. ONIC has gotten
respawned
in the game.
Yeah, not just survived, but thrived. They've made their way up to the gravity cannon now. You can see Taskmaster trying to do his best with the iron sights, so they haven't been able to find any death boxes along the way, sadly. But it was OnDogs who were putting them on blast when he was trying to rotate in from the east, and it's still kind of OnDogs on their back. And they're trying to get some KP in front of them right now, but OnDogs are about to peek over. And yeah, there we go. Trix does get the knock onto Prestis, and I'd be surprised if they survive any further.
But what's crazy, though, is that they survived long enough that 3 other teams were eliminated. I just talked about ONIC having moved into a strong position while Roadhouse decided they wanted to take it. ONIC do finally go down, and Roadhouse have taken their spot. However, Nameless out, and Pot is still alive. So this has gotten them placement points somehow, and it's been worth it across the board.
Okay, res number 2. Let's go. I want to see it. Surely there's enough teams around that they might actually get held up. Hopefully OnDogs and Empire look at each other. Meanwhile, Citadel trying to take out Roadhouse, but they say no, sir. Roundhouse. And they will get them after. I mean, it must be said, by the way, Roadhouse have taken positions away from ONIC twice in this game. They are obsessed with them to the point of actually knocking them out of match 4.
I mean, Roadhouse needed that too. I think that was a momentum builder that Roadhouse definitely needed. Now we're getting to see what OnDogs is going to be doing here. They are in the vicinity of Empire Gaming, like you were mentioning earlier. A duo of Pots still alive. They've managed to survive the chaos in the north that's been happening up here. So now it's really down to OnDogs and Empire to kind of take each other out.
They have been in a staring contest for the last minute. And oh my god, that's okay. All right, we're back. Pot's back. Round 3.
They are officially the cockroaches of this game. They cannot be killed. Meanwhile, OnDogs have taken so much damage from Empire Gaming. They're down to just a solo, while Empire are quite healthy, managing to survive while Pot is back up to a trio. This is massive, and the solo tried to go where Pot is. OnDogs are eliminated. The KP goes to Pot, and they live to see another day.
Nah, fam. How do they manage that? Oh, as you say, the cockroach is living underneath Empire and NVMI right now. Let's see if they can make it across. Roadhouse have got them pinged out. That rock is certainly not big enough, and finally their run will come to an end. But hey, a top 6 is 3 placement points, and that's better than you would have expected.
Impressive nonetheless with what they were working with, as the position that Roadhouse has taken off the ONIC is paying in dividends right now. NVMI are eliminated as cybercats are back and forth with VCGO. The thermites are making things a little bit tough for these squads as cybercats are able to survive a little bit longer. VCGO do go out. Cybercats own the eastern side of this ring, and Roadhouse know exactly where they are, while Empire are up on the northern side.
3 teams are left alive. Only 2 of the Empire members have made it thus far. They're trying to get the res, I believe, but now 2 down. It's just up to the Rampart player.
Roadhouse is also the only team that also has a Gibby on top of the Rampart for the added cover here, which, as these teams condense in a little bit further, will be very, very useful. Empire Gaming does end up going out at the hands of cybercats, and Roadhouse and cybercats are now in a 3v3 across from each other here for these final moments.
Yeah, I mean, look, and Luke is about to get his 3rd ultimate back up, and once he's got 3 stinger bolts, I just don't know if there's any way that cybercats will be able to find safety, will be able to find any reprieve from the Sheila and stinger bolt nonsense that is about to assail them.
Not only that, but Blast is being so annoying with the scout right now. Roadhouse is just waiting for cybercats to make their move, knowing that they have so much damage at their disposal, like you were saying, that this should be an easy cleanup. Beautiful shots into cybercats. Alonzi goes down, and now it's just the final shots here out of the hands of Roadhouse to clean up this match number 4. The cracks come through, the Gibby's giving the extra damage, the added cover, the final push is big, and the PK closes out match number 4.
Oh my, I didn't even mention the defensive bombardment, and that was the nail in the coffin there. 16 kills! Okay, Roadhouse.
But this is what I was talking about. They can be so aggressive and so good, and we were just kind of waiting for that pop-off moment from them. And, you know, they just wanted to do it when we went to Stormpoint.
Yeah, that's a stunning victory there from Roadhouse. And you've got to remember, you know, they played through the other strongest team in the lobby, as you said, the one who had nothing to lose. They had to push through ONIC to get there. So it wasn't an easy road. It might have looked a little bit easy at the end, but kind of similarly to game 1, you know, they'd done a lot of the work in the mid game to open it up for themselves.
Insane match number 4 there for Roadhouse. Almost 5,500 damage, 22 assists. I mean, like you said, a 28-point game here in match number 4. That was the type of pop-off performance you love to see out of any of these teams when we're talking about the final regular season match day. And like, you know, you had mentioned earlier, also Rampart ban coming through. So no more Rampart walls, no more Sheila. What does this mean?
Yeah, it means a lot of Catalyst, right? I think we only saw 2 teams picking up Catalyst in that game. Yeah, 10% pick ratio. So it's going to go up by a massive amount. I wouldn't even be surprised to see that get banned out next game. Or will it be something else that was already high up, like the crypto, the altar, perhaps? But of course, the fun part will be if we do get Catalyst banned out this game. What does that mean, Glitter? That's a reset. We're back to Caustic, baby.
How? It's only 6 matches, okay? You know, let's see what happens. I'm excited for that. It's going to be a really fun final 2 matches, but there's already only 2 matches left here in EMEA for match day number 9, so we'll be diving into those last 2 matches on the other side of this short break.
or if we were to end here, who would be going to regional finals, which should give us a good idea of what needs to change for what teams.
Ugh, all the cool kids are talking about it. And yeah, as you can see, OnDog's just doing enough right now. We've got SJP2, like 1 or 2 placements is all it would take for them to jump up. Look, Team Take Flight have been moving upwards, but they still have quite a vertical leap they would need to reach if they want to make it into that top 20.
What I'm noticing now, as opposed to when we saw this graphic before, is that the 20th place slot is no longer 50 points, it's 49, which may not seem like a crazy change, but it's actually really helpful for squads that do have lower points. And I mean significantly lower points, especially for teams like SJP2, for example, who do just need a few points. This makes it that much easier. OnDogs right now, however, at the cutoff, and absolutely the team to watch, Genome, because today and yesterday, with the win that they were able to find, seems to have been not only the come up, but at the perfect timing for OnDogs.
Yeah, they've really peaked at the towards the end of the season here, but I don't know if their peak is 20th, I guess. It still is a long way for them to make Japan. Obviously, that is a bit of a stretch, but our eyes today really are just on the top 20 and making regional finals. One step at a time, dear.
And anything can happen on match point. May I remind you, Genome, at that point, once we're in regional finals, if OnDogs win, I'm gonna be messaging you, I told you so. Even if it's completely unwarranted and I could not have told you so. At this time, with our 5th match on the horizon, you and Glitter made mention of the fact that Rampart will be taken away. Has been a pretty big piece of ONIC's game plan, with the exception of Game 3, so I'm excited to see how this affects the first place that they've held so dominantly until now.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Some teams more than others absolutely have been leaning on that pick, utilizing it well. They're drilled, right? Because they've been using it for 3, 4, 5 matches every series. Whereas other teams, it is more of a late series pick. And certainly Catalyst is a team that I think it was only Na'Vi and I believe Test Region were running in Game 4. So they're going to be the ones, potentially who have that more as a comfort pick for them. When I think about Na'Vi especially, I'm like, that's where they won their championship, dear. No wonder they've got fond memories and are pulling back to that as a style that they know well.
I know that this will make you smile, Genome. Catalyst is in fact the most picked legend.
Let's go!
Number 5. We are likely getting a return to Caustic in game number 6, given everything that we know about Pro League so far, and that'll be for Roadhouse. That'll be for everyone, as Roadhouse are winners of game number 5, or rather game number 4. Now are hoping to win game number 5 with a nice ring placement that should help them quite a bit if they're able to get the idea that the ring is actually coming to them. No ring console spawning at Millage, so they're going to have to head out to Citadel, where Trojan are coming from right now, to get an idea of where this ring is going.
Yeah, and sometimes you want to do that, but I think actually, dear, because they have had, fortunately, an Evo Harvester spawn on top of them, and they see Trojan and now VCGO, now ONIC come in, I don't think they'll even bother with the console. I think they will assume that the ring is on top of them and play straight for it now that they've got the blue armor.
And Trojan, I'm noticing, are heading right for the same spot as they did yesterday. They do get cut off. VCGO actually took the nut building that Trojan played during what looked like this zone in yesterday's first match. And now we're going to have to find a different spot to play. It looks like Spider Caves is the call right now, but Ronin have already taken that. So if you are a zone team and you're arriving a little bit too late, do you fight for it? Do you let it go? Right now, you have to fight Spiders and Ronin.
little bit of PvE just to spice things up. We love it when a Prowler gets involved every now and then. Just sort of runs up and jump scares you out of nowhere when you're running past Northbat and having a fight in the trenches. Seems to be taking a while to kick off this fight, though.
I think it's not happening, to be honest. The answer that was found by Trojan was Catalyst Wallet. And after they catwall and put up some defenses inside, I'm not saying that Ronin won't push it, but I am saying that it would be a more scrim-style decision.
Is that the polite way to say it, is it?
That it's not the move? Yeah. Yes, it is.
A scrim's decision.
I mean, maybe, you know, we could call it a Na'Vi decision if you want, given how they've been playing today. No.
Whoa! Okay! He's just coming for people.
Yeah, you know, they've been, shall we say, playing creatively so far today, and we saw that bite them in the last game. And if I'm honest, if I sat Hiarka down in front of me and I went, you know what you're doing, he'd look at me and he'd go, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like, Na'Vi are qualified, they're having a bit of fun today, and while I don't think that is completely separate from them trying hard, I know that they're trying hard and that they want to win. You can do a fair amount of limit testing in a Pro League lobby when you're sure that you're going on to regional finals.
That is true, but I think you also should never doubt, you know, seeding going into LAN and all that sort of stuff, right? Your map picks can make a huge difference. You know, if you are one pick less and all of a sudden you miss the car POI going into LAN or something like that, that's huge. Just like Trojan going down this early is for their chances because they're currently sitting in 5th.
Really awkward for Ronin as well to have taken that fight and still managed to win up against Trojan, who had the defensive spot fully available to them. I think it's a great sign for Ronin, but really hurts Trojan, who, may I remind everybody, expended the Catalyst Wall in order to secure this spot, had their defenses set up, and still got run over by a team who just had a little bit more confidence.
I mean, speaking of Na'Vi there, Dia, we've also got, you know, they're landing in Mill this time, right? So if there was a game for them to finally hit, let's say, double digits, it would be this one. But yeah, ONIC go down in first place. That's an early exit, their first early exit, I believe. And at 67 points, you know, they've still got quite a buffer over Roadhouse. But Roadhouse can potentially look to make some of that up here in Game 5.
And right behind Roadhouse, we've got NVMI and Empire. Funnily enough, GoNext have been suspiciously absent today. The matchup of them versus Alliance yesterday, maybe not going the way that some had expected. With GoNext really being on the come up, today seems to be more of the same. Unable to find momentum, but maybe shutting down ONIC is exactly what they need, because GoNext, well, they're not looking to qualify to regional finals. Their goals are a little bit loftier. They'd really like to take first place in the region.
Yeah, I mean, how long is it since someone has taken that away from Alliance? Quite a while, right?
I think so. I'm gonna say yes. Game and Gladiators, I will say, might have done it during the one split. They were super dominant, but it's absolutely a rare occurrence. And
yeah,
this fight up on high ground with a seer double jumping, something that I haven't seen in ALGS too much this split. A relatively new addition.
So weird to see that little bar appear on your screen when you're playing the seer. It almost feels like you're playing wildcard there. You got an extra little bonus. As we said, you know, when it came out, we were like, oh, this is just going to be a bit gimmicky. But there are situations like this where you need to take height, and it actually does come in very handy.
ONIC, nasty head peek there, and hey, the double jump could have solved that, but now that the ult has expired, Empire's siege is just that bit tougher. Losing Arctic right now. Liffin is going to get full sent. Really pushing the numbers advantage towards Empire, and unfortunately, not even a retreat to the Void Nexus is available to them. Take Flyte have taken them down, and for Take Flyte, this could not have come a second sooner. We looked at the overall leaderboards and what it means for regional finals just a second ago. Take Flyte need first or bust, and right now, they might be bust. Pot are jumping on them immediately. Catwall goes up, and Oirain looks for an angle in, but doesn't actually find any damage after losing Taskmaster. This goes poorly for Pot, and Take Flyte hold on to their spot and get another KP. It's the perfect play. or take Flyte.
Yeah, and I think they actually approached this a little too quickly, Dia. They didn't have the Void Nexus down. It felt like they really should have popped that one in if they knew that they were going to take a fight, which it seemed pretty likely. They could hear the shots. They were approaching it like they wanted that KP. It's just one thing you really have to do as an ulter. You always need to be thinking ahead in terms of your ultimate and being able to chuck that down so your team has that piece of safety. We'll pull down to Cenote Caves. The zone has pulled a little bit further down towards there. And you've got teams like Ronin playing, I believe they're on the top part of the Armor Cave. And that will be a very important place to note later on in the game. But for teams who want to play in and under and around that, we could be looking at cybercats, Citadel, even OnDogs actually coming through the Spider Cave right now.
I'm also really curious what this means for teams like VCGO, who took Trojan's spot earlier on. While Trojan have ultimately fallen, they're going to be watching this game and watching teams like Ronin, who took them down, ultimately besieged the very spots that they wanted to early rotate for, which is going to sting. VCGO and Nave have great positions right now, like you talked about. Ronin still in next zone, and SJP2, who are on the cusp of qualifying into the regional finals. Still technically in zone here, albeit not as safe a space. The bridge can lead to some great endgame positions.
Yeah, I mean, the cutoff is looking like it could even be 48 right now. OnDogs and SJP2 neck on neck. We will just have to keep you guys updated on how that one is playing out. But I don't think OnDogs can drop any lower than the 7th position they're currently in. Meanwhile, cybercats, they've actually pulled out of Cenote Caves to find this fight against Nameless in Beam.
Seems to be going Nameless's way. And it'll be a quick finish off on the KP. cybercats play the bridge with the team coming up behind them. So as Nameless push forward, cybercats are getting sandwiched between Nameless and Pot, a fight that is almost sure to break out immediately afterwards. Cybercats go down, and Pot have no way to go but forward directly into the cybercats, having done more damage. And with Taskmaster coming over the hill, maybe this is Pot's time to shine. Taskmaster lands a few shots, drops down, and Pot seem to have got themselves a safe rotation. Cybercats back away.
Just seems like
Nameless.
Seems like deja vu with Pot, honestly. Every time we see them, they're just putting us on the edge of our seats, waiting to see if they can make it in, and it's at the very, very last moment. However, Nameless, they actually take, you know, they really took the aggression from Pot there and waited until the tide turned in their favor. Love how they played that. Pot have gone down.
Oirein getting a bit of deja vu as the last person standing, but this time not able to clutch it up. OnDogs besieged on high ground. Try and drop, but with Billy at 1 HP, OnDogs will fall, putting their regional finals slot at risk.
Oh, this is so rough because they've got, you know, NL GoNext as well just behind them. Citadel Gaming also looking to overtake them in the standings for this series. That could be deadly to their chances, as you say.
Legion 14th in this lobby so far. Need at least a 7th place to gather 50 points and put themselves in a safe position for the regional finals. Again, that math can change, but 7th place gets them 50 points, and 50 points, at least as of right now, you get your regional finals. To do that, though, you do have to survive the aggression of Ronin. And the Void Nexus here could be the thing that Legion Gaming need to be able to get aggressive and always have a safe spot to back off to.
Yeah, Ronin currently locked in. I think if they really slip down in the standings, they could be at risk. But this game is looking good for them. They do need to hold off Legion, though. This position up the top of this rock is typically the god spot for this zone. And Ronin could convert that to a win if they can just beat Legion Gaming off their back.
Definitely seen teams like Ronin, even Ronin in this game, get aggressive for good positions when they need to, like they did up against Trojan, and like GoNext is doing up against Test Region. Last member standing now for Test Region. But Ronin on the other side of the map go down. The south side has changed, and Legion now hold the power position.
That's a big result there for Legion. That could even be a game-winning fight that they have just succeeded in. Maggie Jules going into Gibby Bubbles has been one of the more fun counters that we've seen happen in this split. Another one is the piercing spikes on the edge of a Gibraltar bubble. If we think back to Champs and Sapporo last year, that was a defining factor in how teams played these bubble fights.
It's really helped a lot of teams stabilize in this game, at least until we get Caustic in the next one. Mythic Crate unclaimed right now, perhaps unclaimable, although I suppose we do have Gibraltars that can bubble on it and go for it. SLR have got a Trident to put between them and other squads if we get to the late game, and Roadhouse, well, we'll see if they even get there. Old completely useless undercover here, and NVMI wipe out Roadhouse, our winners of Game 4.
Oh, Roadhouse! A little bit sad for them, but yeah, these positions we've got, especially the nuts in the middle, just outside the zone. We're going to have to see if, Gibraltars and Catalyst can make their way out of there, but it's GoNext in an even less enviable position as they try and get angles on Citadel Gaming, who currently sit atop Godrock.
GoNext in their race for the top, sitting at 6th. They need not just wins, but a lot of KP to make it up to the top of EMEA with this game. A Kraber shot could do it. Kaisha gets hit, but does not go down. Well, Legion rain down death and destruction on SLR.
The double nade coming out from Xampe. GoNext now coming in hot underneath this bridge. They have to deal with Citadel, but Henchman is down. He's the one who can give them cover.
Kraber. Somebody Kraber. Flyte's got it. Wrong side. I know, it's not fair. He doesn't know. But GoNext spot. Extremely tenuous right now. Catalyst wall.
Oh my god.
Signals a disengage. Will
risky res.
GoNext hit this res.
They gamble. They gamble that the other team isn't going to poke through their cat wall and actually see that as they res in the open because they know they don't have time.
BC go their own gamble. The Trident rotate works out just fine for them, but Citadel, having expended the Catalyst wall to get here, may very well fall. GoNext seem to be joining them, and it's a matter of who falls first. SJP2 easily able to poke at the squads just below them and pick up a few KP themselves. GoNext still technically in this. Na'Vi in this as well, even as they get Gibby ulted. It's VCGO that are looking for a way in, hoping to take out a squad. Let's take a quick listen in with VCGO.
Non? Ils sont tous là, il nous à toi. Passe-moi que le coup.
Ça nous va pas le faire, mort.
Je suis pas là.
Là, t'es one aussi. Nice. Viens.
Attention, on va venir se faire trippy.
Je bubble.
Non.
Je stop, c'est good.
Ok.
That was an incredible fight. When do we see a double Kraber shot from VC Go? That's the thing that wipes Na'Vi off the map. And if you're Na'Vi, I'm sure they're going to be mad about it, but Babylon's is not.
3 hits in 2 bullets. That's a pretty good ratio if you ask me. He's still got 6 in the chamber as well. Let's see if VCGO can make any further inroads. It's still gonna be a tough one. I think they're gonna have to. Oh, they're actually gonna go for the top. They're gonna challenge Legion for the height here. I like the chances, especially if they get an opening with the Kraber.
Yeah, Babylons can absolutely do this. The fact that they've used Gibby Bubble, however, does expose them to a lot of risk. It means that VCGO don't really have a lot of safety after this goes down. Catwall at 90%. So a few seconds of exposure at the very least. Citadel will fall as SJP2 taking a few critical points. Now put themselves in a better spot to qualify to the regional finals, but not a secure one just yet. Bangalore ult eaten on the high ground. Legion pushing up on VCGO, who have lost out on their catalyst. No wall, no safety. Bubble back up in 1 second, but Peacekeeper and Kraber still in the hands of Babylons, who gets pushed from up on height. Legion know they've got the game-winning spot, and they know even more than that they've got to fight for it.
He hears the other team creeping up on them and preemptively pops the bubble here. And it works. Legion goes back. They don't want to take that fight now. And now we've got a situation where there's sort of the haves and the haves not. We've got teams up the top, teams down the bottom. They may eventually funnel into that hole in the middle. But who knows? Like, is it going to be a heel-off ending? This is going to be a crazy end zone either way, dear.
Take Flyte are still alive, by the way. Top 5 for Take Flyte is huge. We said they need a pop-off game, and while they haven't been super loud, a win here, or even a top 2 with some good KP, could keep hope alive for Take Flyte in their journey to the regional finals. But it will all hinge on this fight up against SJP2, whose only option is seemingly to walk straight into Take Flyte. These two teams will have to fight each other.
It seems almost inevitable. You can see them measuring up their opponents, and 3 hits with the scout is enough to get the crack. Not enough to start sending on, though. We can see a Stinger, I believe, giving Take Flyte a little bit of vision onto SJP2.
GoNext fall, Catwall is out. Is this aggressive or defensive? Take Flyte do not know, so they answer with one of their own, creating a dark corridor in the middle where neither team wants to peek. ONIC's trying to defend it right now, but only a few seconds left on these Catwalls, and Take Flyte still in the sightlines of SJP2. Remember, Legion are on top of all this, and they're fighting with VC Go. VC Go even winning the fight in a 2 versus 3 with Babylon's cleaning things up with the Peacekeeper.
How is that possible? And maybe it was the Kraber difference. Maybe they just know how to work the shotguns. Pump after pump. They're coming up, though. We do see the Altar coming into play here. This is perfect when you need to bridge the low ground to the high ground. SJP2 are looking for the hip fires and will take the dub.
Just in time for SJP2, and I have to say, just in time for Take Flyte. First and second for these squads, almost assuredly, and I say almost assuredly because we'll need to take a look at the standings, pushes SJP2 into qualification territory for the regional finals. Second place, maybe not what Take Flyte needed from an absolute perspective, but it is a huge step for them, given that it's not even their second place of the day. They got second place in our last game on World's Edge as well. And now they've got the opportunity again with one more game to secure what needs to be a top spot. Take Flyte must get Gaming, who right now are placed better than 7th. They're in 6th. They need to have one last good game, not falling down in 20th, because I'll be honest with you, Gino, there are a lot of people tied for 32 points.
It's so close. I mean, you know, it was all on dogs at the start of the day. They're now like 7-8 points off the pace, and they would need to have a massive finish here. I mean, so many teams do. You know, Take Flyte. Honestly, I don't know if it's doable for them. I think they kind of are almost just playing for pride at this point. On dogs, it is doable, but they like probably need a win because they've got to get above Pot, above Ronin, above VCGO, above Legion. Like, oh god, it's changing by the moment, Dia. It's a crazy maths game to see here. Who's going to finally make it to our regional finals and be in the top 20 for EMEA next weekend?
It is wild. We keep changing things. We keep breaking records. Everything in the last couple of days of the split comes down to the wire. For this next game, it will be the final one, so we'll get the chance to finally determine who's going to the regional finals. But it's also a first for us this split, as Caustic will be unbanned. It is the first time in Pro League that we have seen an unban happen across a 6-game series.
Yeah.
So, very exciting moment for us, and for all of you Caustic enjoyers at home, very exciting moment for you. We'll see you after the break with some more Stinky Grandpa.
Gas, was it Granddaddy there? I had a look.
Grandpa.
I had a look during the sorry, there we go. The Stinky Grandpa. He's 50 years old, so I guess like technically he could be a grandpa. Seems like yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're putting him into that grandpa category. Otherwise, I'm probably just feeling insecure about my own age right now. That's all it is.
No. I think you're fine. I'll hang.
I mean, I'm not 50 yet, so.
This could be something to ask our players, perhaps, if they think the Caustic is old enough to be a grandpa. It all comes back to what the players think, feel, and experience. SJP2 experiencing the thrill of victory last game up against, as we noted, Take Flyte. We're now at a very precarious spot on the leaderboard. SJP2 much less so, and increasingly Legion Gaming, despite not having found a win, in a much less precarious position themselves. It is Legion and On Dogs that seem to have had the, in air quotes, best days so far in terms of meeting their own conditions for going to regional finals.
Yeah, I mean, when we were looking at these, well, sorry, yeah, just to focus on there, guys, Caustic is unbanned. We're just going to mention that again. That's why it's not across in front of him. He was banned after game 1. But of course, when every legend of a particular class has been banned, the first legend to be banned will be then unbanned, so that you always have available to your teams one member of each class at the very least, no matter how long your match point series goes on. Now, of course, I think it's only possible for a controller class to get unbanned in a 6-match series, right? Because there's too many other legends in all the other classes, right?
I will say, frequently I take the time to think about these things. I'm not going to take the time to think about it right now, but I promise that I'll do it later. At the moment, I'm really focused on what's going on in this game. For SJP2, of course, are victors of the previous round, and how it's impacting everyone else. Unbanned, I will think about later, I promise. But this is our last
I'm right.
game
We don't need to think about it further. It's fine.
Yes,
it is. It is. It's the last chance for a whole bunch of these teams. What are we calling it at the start of the day? The fate of the 8, of which 8 teams will be joining the 12 that had already locked in their regional finals chances going into today. And as we've been mentioning to you, it's been chopping and changing every game. Legion, the most recent ones, who are currently sitting in 20th spot, if things stay as they are, which of course they won't, will shuffle around a little bit. But we have to wonder, you know, can they maintain that spot? If they slip down one, Killer Whales all of a sudden might nip them in the bud and make their way back up into the top 20. There's just so many possibilities.
Especially with this zone being so far away from them again. Legion Gaming had a really good fight up against Ronin earlier that honestly could have gone either way. Ronin once again do get a ring console over in Cenote as the zone pulls us into the mill and downed beast area. You'd think that Na'Vi would have one of the best shots at playing this zone, and well, I won't say that's not what they're doing. The fact that they hit the ring, I don't even know if they hit the ring console. The fact that they landed and sprinted straight at downed beast says a lot about their game plan. Na'Vi are playing for kills, and that means that teams like SLR, VCGO, and even Roadhouse, who have now gotten into the area, are in trouble. So maybe Na'Vi were playing for zone all along. Who's to say?
And we just have to keep our eyes on VCGO, on Legion Gaming, on Ronin, and probably on Pot as well. Those 4 teams really are worried about dropping too many spots in this last game and therefore dropping out of the top 20. Especially if someone like OnDogs can have a massive run. And the other thing is, like, we've got different teams with SLR already going out, by the way. We've got different teams playing for different win conditions here, Dia. Sometimes in Game 6, it's like, oh, everybody just needs a huge game. But here we've got some teams, like OnDogs, need a huge game. Some teams just need to stay stable and do okay. And I think it's going to be interesting to see those different styles clashing against each other.
Reminds me, honestly, a lot of match point finals, simply because your win condition can just be to stay alive, get a few more points. And for cybercats, that seems to be the case. Their defense against Citadel, however, not going very well. This drone does get broken, but out of ammo on the Mastiff and out of luck with the shots. Elonzi will fall, leaving just Ranches alive. Should be able to escape in this Trident, although we'll see what shots land from Citadel in the meanwhile. Trojan, however, find themselves in an engagement that seems to be going well, and Test Region will go down. With Test Region and SLR both gone, those are 2 teams that, coming into today, were basically mathematically eliminated from regional finals anyways. And while it is sad to see them fall, I'd like to appreciate what they've given to us this split. They really did come in here. They weren't just running everybody down. They were trying their best. And they've been working hard the entire split. So thank you very much. We'll see you in LCQ and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, one more chance for those teams to make their way to Japan at the start of 2026. And as you said, that will be through the LCQ Avenue. 2 spots available for each region over there. I suppose, dear, one nice thing is that you know, they're not ruining anyone else's chances, right? Like, they're not going to be that X factor running towards the end of this game where it kind of doesn't matter for them to some extent, but it matters so much for someone else.
It's true. It's true. That's what I was appreciating about the teams is that, you know, I think you do get a lot of squads that disband or that just play like it doesn't matter.
True.
And I haven't gotten that from either of these teams. SLR and Test Region. They've both been working really hard throughout the split, and even coming into today, I felt like we're trying to play their best games of Apex Legends. I think that's been something honestly really impressive about the teams that we've gotten in EMEA so far. Despite the flame that I was giving to Navi earlier for playing a bit fast and loose. They know what they're doing, and they're making it to regional finals. Pot up on the high ground, have lost Prestige so far to refocus on squads that still have something to gain or to lose throughout the course of these games. Navi dropping down into low ground are continuing exactly what we talked about earlier, hoping to gain KP and really make others lose.
Yeah, and Trojan, they're the ones at risk with the EMP on top of their heads. No goes down. No completely finished off now by Hiaka. But they get one the other way.
Right back. Kiner and Naski still alive in here. But like you say, with Nono unable to be rezzed, they need to somehow interrupt this res from Navi. Kiner can't do it on his own. Naski tries to peek out the other side, but Hiaka's back up. And this has gone from bad to worse for Trojan, especially as Slab continues to lay down the damage. Navi do have Hiarka down momentarily. They may be able to fix that, but with Kiner trying to res on the inside, it'll still be a fight advantage for Navi, who get away, still with 1 KP. It seems like not wanting to push their luck too much.
Oh, but they should, dear. But they should, because as the zone pulls, this building has just gone up in stonks so much. As you can see, it looks, I mean, I'm reading this to be a, you know, just south of Down Beast sort of ending here, which means this building is exactly where you want to be. If, I mean, you know, you probably get bombarded by everybody, but that's what you've got to do to win the game. And Navi do eventually evict Trojan.
Upgrade secured.
Trojan, who I will say to their credit, have likely done enough to secure their regional final spot. They looked really good at the start of the day. They should be well and truly in there. Still scary to have them going down to Navi like that. Legion, though, need every point and every placement. Cannot afford to have a bad game. And are playing it extremely close right now. Holding the inside of this building with not a whole lot of cover up against Empire, who are besieging them from the outside. Sampe, after hitting this heal, may be able to finish off Lippin, who dips inside, only to very quickly go down. The fight between Ronin and Citadel kicking off as well. Nate on the Mad Maggie is already gone. Cracked gets slowed and taken down, and MG Clutch heads for the hills. We'll see if he escapes. And he does not. Ronin go down to Citadel.
My stomach's feeling a bit weird after watching that that exit from Ronin there. Spinning on the upon their demise, but now Ronin in 15th spot. Look, I don't think I think because a couple of teams have gone out below them, like SLR and Test Region, I don't think they can drop enough points now to drop out of 20th, out of the 20th spot and regional finals. But geez, they're cutting it close. That said, Dia, we've got so many teams on the outskirts right now that you know, unlike a lot of other zones we've seen today, it has not been a flood for that end zone. A lot of teams seem to be saying, hey, if we just win one team fight, we're fine. You know, that's it. Bam, we're through into the top 20. A lot of teams are looking for KP on the outside.
On Dogs seem to be following exactly that. Playing around the edge of zone, didn't get an early rotate in, the likes of which SJP2 and ONIC were able to secure. But looking for KP. Seems to have staged through, at least for SJP2, who did get a quick knock on Zidane before he was able to be rezzed inside this building. ONIC still relatively safe, especially with the amount of traps that EQ is able to lay down. Interesting to see them now running a caustic when ONIC were avoiding this pick on World's Edge.
That is interesting, because I would say Caustic is actually stronger on World's Edge than it is on Storm Point. So that's a fascinating choice, but I guess it's because all of the other controller characters are gone.
May as well, I guess, try what everyone else thinks is so strong, especially when, like you say, it seems to be the best option. Citadel Gaming had some pretty good options earlier. They did a lot of damage to cybercats. See what that Skynade can do, because the Peacekeeper is doing plenty for Zuni right now. Guts goes down immediately. And with it, Citadel Gaming very much in charge of this fight. We may see the end of Nameless very quickly. The evac towers very risky at this point in the game, at this point in the series, and that risk does not seem to have paid off for Nameless, who needed to get second in order to qualify for the regional finals and have missed out by a healthy margin.
So another team unlikely to be part of that conversation, gracefully bows out and an honest demise. And a circle pulled down towards the buildings at the back of Mill. Okay, so maybe that position Na'Vi took up not quite as good as I thought. It looks like, or is it just going to be sort of the middle ground between them, and teams start having to, really rely on smoke cover from Bang, maybe a Gibraltar bubble if you're lucky enough to have one of those, or perhaps your Catalyst wall. Sorry, not Catalyst wall. Catalyst isn't in here. It's just the Caustic. What am I saying? Please, someone help.
Roadhouse will be happy to assist you by taking all of your kills, all of your KP. However, that gets turned around quite quickly, and I'll be honest, that was a little risky for my taste. Roadhouse almost lost control of that fight before taking down Empire, and they are lucky to get an uninterrupted reset. On Dogs, not nearly so lucky as they face cybercats right now, and most importantly, are lacking a trident for a safe rotation. NVMI won't get it either, as GoNext drop down, clean them up, and pop right back up to the top of Down to Beast.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating that even Alta is still in here when Down Beast is in play, but it doesn't look like that many teams are actually getting into it, in and around the actual Beast itself, because it's always fun to see people, zip up to the top of Beast through a void passage and make something fun happen there. On Dogs have managed to slip around with Trident or no, and sit, I believe, underneath, maybe on top of one of those buildings at the back of Mill. Legion Gaming and Roadhouse, they're just trading blows here as the zone will force them out of the checkpoint area. But, I mean, we've still got all of the teams who are looking, who are right on this bubble. Dear, this is just getting more and more exciting by the moment.
There's going to be an extremely close series, and with Roadhouse taken out, that stays true. Legion Gaming
on Dogs,
and On Dogs taken out opens things up pretty massively. On Dogs in an extremely risky position, and Legion beset by nades. There's no way out of this. Surely Legion go down next. This tight race is becoming an extremely scary one. Legion somehow surviving for now.
But they can't.
All of that from GoNext, but GoNext continuing to close the gap under cover of Frag Grenade. Blooming Flower gonna have to pop out with the 30-30, see what sort of damage he can do to keep his team safe, because GoNext don't want to give up on this, but you have to imagine they're out of grenades now.
You'd hope so after the barrage that we just saw, but Legion Gaming cannot afford to go out right now, dear. Slipping down from 7th to 8th is enough to knock them out of the top 20. It's 1 point, but it's 1 point too many. This would give Killer Whales the berth into regional finals. They need more points right now.
Not keen to go down, but GoNext not keen to give up. We'll see what they're able to do, because right now, it's just a series of abducts and harassment by GoNext that keeps the rest of Legion away from this rock, and that's to say nothing of the rotate that's coming up. I like that Sampe was holding on to the cooldown. I don't love this expenditure. Legion Gaming now have no ultic cells and need to rotate in 5 seconds with nothing to force GoNext under cover.
What are they gonna do? Okay, we do see a tick come through. Legion Gaming know that at least one of them is stunned. They're gonna go in with the help of this Stinger Bolt, but all of a sudden, they're getting pushed back. Calamity goes down. Blooming, no. Xampi, you need to squeeze out some points, and they can't. Legion will miss out on regional finals.
It is tough to watch them go. But GoNext had all the time in the world to execute this squad. ONIC sliding out onto SJP2, who do manage to get back up to high ground. SJP2, a squad that should be safe, I will say, but would like the extra bit of safety that comes with better placement. Pot next to Navi and GoNext, who are playing as a duo now. Their rotation not nearly as simple as they would have liked, but somehow staying alive, if not comfortable. The nades are a little too much, and we will see at least one fall, perhaps all. Pot trying to push in onto Navi right now as GoNext do eventually go down. And Navi are trapped in this building, like it or not.
The zone pulls very much onto VCGO. That building is going to be a beautiful spot for them to hold, whereas SJB2 and ONIC will be having to make their way north. Meanwhile, Taskmaster using all movement abilities he's got here just to try and get away from everything that Navi is throwing him. Oh my god, how many shots did he just hit through the smoke?
The thermite seems to be enough, but will it actually be enough to reclaim momentum in this fight? Navi continuing to poke out, still trapped in the building. Citadel Gaming looking at this as well. The Pot have refocused. Maybe the fight went their way, maybe it didn't, but they're looking at what the next play looks like. Can they move into the building that VCGO and ONIC currently occupy? It looks like the zone is going out into the water, and for this, Tridents will be really important. Any team that still has one could find a safe spot and a win.
Yeah, it's indestructible cover. That's why it's so good. Slap isn't looking so indestructible right now. Navi as a whole is not, and Pot will put them to rest.
Taskmaster giving us his best ULTRAMARINES, but ultimately will fall. The EVA not enough to fend off the third party. And Pot do at least manage to clean up one. Hold on, maybe two, maybe a third, but no. Citadel take them down despite the near clutch from Pot. Take Flyte, fighting to stay alive, fighting for one more placement. Have ONIC up and down in fifth. It is unlikely that Take Flyte will be making it. SJP2 trying to climb up over the fence. Probably will. They would have liked to make it a little further, however. VCGO in the top three right now with Citadel and ONIC. This could be a bonus point for ONIC.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. With 2 games going their way on World's Edge, a third win here would get ONIC that bonus point. Be super cool to see. We've had a couple around the ground so far this split, but they are few and they are far between. ONIC's use of the Wraith allowed them to safely port from one building to another. Citadel Gaming, they've just used the phase breach themselves to come in behind and find a little bit of a spot on this fence. Apparently they've got so little ammo they need to punch the barrels to make sure that they have some sort of safety here.
Honestly, keep everything in reserve until the last possible second. I will note, ONIC have control of 2 Tridents right now, and apparently control of this rock. Citadel not particularly safe, especially when Zidane is taking off angles like this. ONIC aren't even using the Tridents. They're just using this Wraith portal. It seems to be on no cooldown at all. Zidane goes back. ONIC have a little bit of cover, but their win condition is, of course, to make VCGO and Citadel fight.
YQ, he's got 3 of the 4 perks available to him on the core stick, and you can see they're going to start lobbing barrels at each other at this point because the core sticks are going to be everything as this zone closes in and cover becomes unavailable.
Citadel look for their first win of the day. VCGO look for their first. ONIC look for the 3-peat. They are playing different games right now. Citadel playing right around the outside of the building. Have ONIC playing on the inside. hoping to split focus between teams, and it seems to have
my God.
Nobody is shooting at EQ. Nobody is shooting at ONIC. They are taking no damage from the rest of the lobby. Down to 2 squads now. It's one member of VCGO against all 3 wins from ONIC Gaming in the last day of EMEA.
Someone ring the bell. I feel like there should be like a ding, 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 ding. We just got a bonus point. Oh, man. 3 Was that? I don't know if that went out on broadcast as well. I did actually hear a bell there. Apparently, that's a button that we have. Amazing. Amazing job by ONIC. They're going to take out the day as well as, yeah, the 3 wins. Weirdly enough, oftentimes when you get the 3 wins and the bonus points, a lot of the teams somehow come second, but not this time. They've taken out the full dub as well, 90 points for them. It's been a phenomenal day here to finish off the regular season.
Yeah, I loved what we saw. Glitter, watching ONIC get the bonus point in the end felt surreal, especially in the way that they did it, because that end zone is an extremely chaotic one.
Yeah, ONIC came to play today. Okay, they made sure that even though they were already safe, and this is something that we haven't even really touched on that much because we've been focusing so much on the bubble of who was qualifying to regional finals at all, just because the teams that were safe in so far as having made it to regional finals doesn't mean that that was where it ended. They also were technically playing for that draft position in their POI draft. So now with a performance like that out of ONIC, that could potentially put them up in a better spot for their POI draft. And also want to point out that we need to remember that Zidane just joined this roster on the 9th. Like, and we've seen Zidane come in and have these pop-off performances as an individual before, but like they look so good together right now. And the fact they're able to do that, Dia, with being a new trio is insane.
Yeah, and I know that we talked at the start of the day about the fact that Alliance weren't in this lobby, but we have teams like GoNext and Na'Vi in this lobby, Citadel Gaming in this lobby, Roadhouse in this lobby, all squads that are clamoring for some of the top spots in the entire region. And the fact that ONIC comes in on the last day of the regular season and gets 3 wins, a dominant performance from them on the day before the regional finals. I mean, we all knew ONIC was going, but to be going in style like this makes me really excited for what they'll look like when in the same lobby as Alliance.
Regional finals is going to be good. We'll take a look at those results and see what that means for the rest. There were so many teams you can even see, because Passion, when we talked about it at the top of the show, was one of those teams that was right in 12th. One of the teams that had qualified definitively. And they even still got knocked down. A lot of our teams that were right in that bubble showed up today, and we're splitting hairs at the end of the day. 2 points there, 3 points there. That is something that these teams will be reliving in their minds for a little bit here, Gino.
Yeah, I know when it comes down to it, they were, you hear the team comms, right? Like they're madly checking scores in between every game. They're trying to do the math. They're trying to theory craft. They know the rotations as well. So they're thinking about where the teams are around them that are going to be running into them and how that factors in. Like there's just so much going on. And it was, I was crushed. Like it was such a good start for Ondogs that it felt like something that started out as very unlikely before the series started all of a sudden became possible. But unfortunately, they just couldn't close out the day as well as they might have hoped.
This close. I mean, we had a phenomenal day on behalf of quite a few of our teams, but we also want to take a moment here to highlight some individuals because I'm excited to see how this actually shook out. It's time for our Sony InZone kill leader race. I want to see who is at the top of the leaderboard, and it's actually very close between Zidane and GeekQDia, 18 and 15 kills respectively.
I mean, when your team is just slamming the lobby like this, I don't know what we're expecting. Zidane and EQ, of course, especially Zidane, really stood out. And I know that it's because he's on the flashier Wraith, but oh my lord. In endgames, it's so rare that we get to highlight a player as making huge, not just micro moves, but macro decisions that take your team to the next level in terms of splitting focus. It comes back to exactly what we talked about in match day number 8, about the importance of anchoring for your squad and how this unleashes everything else. In this case, Zidane, the perfect example of what a fragger should be doing in these matches. And ONIC really took advantage of that. Again, you highlighted it, Glitter. This is less than a month that ONIC have had together, and they are in form, the likes of which I think could challenge top teams in EMEA.
Absolutely love to see it. A total of almost 9k damage for Zidane as well. I mean, this is insane. And that's including match number 5, where he got 0 kills. I mean, this was an impressive performance on behalf of ONIC, but specifically Zidane, and obviously Yiku right behind there in second place at the 15 kills as well. That is a way to go out, to say the least, in our regular season. I think this will also, in both a good and a bad way, definitely be putting a target on their backs heading into regional finals. A lot of these teams knowing who they need to be looking out for. So I think we had a very exciting day here in EMEA. Any favorite parts for you, Gino, on the day? The ban. You were very excited about the ban.
I was.
The ban.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Corsic is very fun right now. I mean, I know a lot of teams wouldn't agree with me. I'm just kind of coming at this from like the casting viewing point of view. But those chaotic end zones where like you've got no space to play anything like that, I enjoy it. So that's why I enjoyed the 6 games with APAC North yesterday, and that's definitely why I'm enjoying the extra game that we were treated to here today in EMEA.
Yeah, things always pick up, obviously, at the end of the season when everything's really on the line for these teams. And there's always a little bit of heartbreak, but lots and lots of joy and success that we're finding out of these teams. We had some really exciting storylines to follow today. And once again, like you guys had mentioned too, Dia, the bonus point for ONIC.
Yeah, that bonus point is actually, I mean, really helpful in theory because, again, in theory, it makes a big difference for regional finals. I think it is more at this point in the season about sending a message because regional finals seeding is going to be adjusted slightly. It's not going to make that big of a difference for ONIC, whether they got first or first plus a bonus point today, but it is really going to matter in the long term of ONIC cementing themselves as a top seed in EMEA and then seeing what they can do in the subsequent days. It's just so rare that when it happens, we have to go, like, the bonus point, sometimes it can force standing, sometimes it can move them around. With regional finals being changed, not so much, but the fact that when it happens, we can go, oh wow, that's a crazy dominant performance is really what it serves as a signal of to me.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about how important consistency is, especially when it comes to LAN, because not only is it about hitting the point threshold, but then it's also about getting the win after the fact. And if you can put up a stat like 50% of your series is you winning your series, that is definitely a good base to be starting from as a team. We're going to take a look here at our overall standings, and this is really more to kind of now start the conversation here, Genome, around, okay, now we know who our top 20 teams are that have made it to regional finals, but that doesn't mean that all the teams that are in regional finals are guaranteed to make their way to champs. There are quite a few teams that need to win in order to solidify being able to compete on that international stage. I think that's where everybody's focus is going to be shifting once we get to regional finals.
Oh yeah, it's only half the battle, if that. 20 out of 30 teams made it to regional finals. Your odds aren't so bad there. How many teams of these will be making it to champs? I mean, we were looking before, and for EMEA, it's actually not looking that great right now. We've got, Alliance, Citadel, Na'Vi, GoNext are pretty likely to make it. But then when we look down the bottom of that leaderboard here, we've got Roadhouse, Ronin, Nova Gaia. They really have to have a big result to push themselves into sort of contention for the middle spots. Of course, any of the 20 teams does have the golden ticket, the out of winning. But at that point, you have to beat Alliance. You have to beat ONIC. You have to beat GoNext and make sure they're the ones not clinching it at the end of this. And it's a little bit weird because, they're going to win this, and then they're going to be like, there's probably going to be just a tiny tinge of sadness where they're like, well, this actually means potentially one less team from EMEA now will make it to champs if they do.
And that's where everything that we were talking about at the top of the show really comes into play. If it is a team that wins regional finals that was already qualifying based off of their champs points as well, the spots start opening up past that top 24. So lots to be keeping abreast of, really trying to pay attention to all of our points and where they're going and how these squads are doing. And there's not a lot of time left for them to figure out their game plan. Before we say goodbye to everybody, though, we're going to be bringing in an interview, the man himself, the kill leader of the day. We've got Zidane ready to go for an interview. Zidane, welcome. What an absolute performance here today. Thank you for joining us. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much. I feel good. That was a good day from us. We played very well. We had like a few weeks to work on what we have to do in Pro League, and we have short time to qualify from regional finals or like LCQ. So we had short time to work. I'm happy that we made it and we actually worked a day and played very, very well together, So I feel really good about the team. We all do like what we used to work on scrims and stuff like this. So I'm very happy from what we did.
I mean, you're looking like a team that is in shape to take regional finals, LCQ, like you mentioned, likely make it back to Japan, and for you, another chance to win. What has the roadmap been like for you? What have you worked on so far? What have been the biggest improvements, and what do you still want to improve on moving into what is hopeful to be Japan?
So basically what we worked the most, it was the comms together in the team. Work on what we can do together, what is the best thing to do as a team together, because not every team works the same way. So we had to work a lot, like watching VODs, what we can do, watch what we can do, and see how we can work on the meta. So that was like a lot of stuff to work. Basically the first thing that was like the most important was the comms. We had to work on the comms so much, and that's what we done. And I think that's one of the most like important thing in the game, and made us do very well on every day we done in Pro League.
Look, we had a first in Pro League today, Zidane. We had Caustic unbanned in Game 6. Now, you guys were one of the few teams who weren't playing that to start the day off with, right? You were playing Rampart and Newcastle, and obviously you were, killing it on the Wraith the whole day. what did you guys like? Have you got a lot of practicing on caustic because you know, you've been going for you know, the Rampart Newcastle stuff, and was that a complete surprise to you and you were just like, oh, we better pick it because it's strong, or you know, have you got enough reps in on that to then bring out the win there in game 6?
The thing is, like, it's kind of a strategy, you know, because I think caustic is very like very good, but in the other way, sometimes it is not because of some other character, you know. So at that point, we had to play caustic because we need the beacon, and if like everyone play caustic and we don't have anything to go against it, we just have to play caustic as well, you know. So we didn't add a lot of choice, like a lot of other character. So yeah, we just had to pick it because that's how it works and that's what we had to do, you know. That wasn't basically like a lot of strategy behind picking caustic on game 5, game 6, sorry. But yeah, we had to do it. Like that was like literally something we had to do. Nothing much. But we work on caustic already. We played it on scrims.
And you guys looked absolutely incredible making all of those choices. Now, I do notice you've got the chair behind.
Yeah, I really want to work on going in Pro and win again because I don't know, I feel like I can do it. Even like now with this team, that's something I can do because I feel really comfortable with them. I know that we can work. They work really well and we are a good team. So yeah, I really think we can do it. Everything's possible. We showed that it's possible. We won a LAN already with a team that no one thought we could do. So I think that everything's possible. I'm going to give my best to do it. And yeah, I want to win again. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
Well, you guys definitely are in a position to absolutely do that. So congratulations again on a fantastic last day of the regular season and best of luck at regional finals. Thank you so much for jumping on here and chatting with us.
Thank you so much.
I love it. I love it. What a day. It was lovely being able to talk to Zidane, and now it's time for me to get some final thoughts from you guys. EMEA is done. We're now looking towards regional finals here, Dia, determining which we've already mentioned, the limited amount of teams from EMEA are going to be making their way through to champs. So like there's a lot of the line for this region.
There is. I mean, I'm really excited, of course. Like, who wouldn't be after having watched these teams and players try their hardest to make it to Japan? Every day we're talking about it, but we are down to the wire for how you make it to Japan, to Sapporo, for Zidane, how you defend your title, and for so many other teams, how you clamor together and finally make something good enough to sail to international competition. And that's really exciting. However, for my biggest final thought, I wanted to get back to you, Gino. We can have unbanned Assault Legends if we really want to. It's possible. But I thought it was important to circle back to that because I did have to move on in the last game.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, dear. Especially as I was so adamant that I was right in the moment. And you know what? I'm not afraid to say I'm wrong sometimes. And apparently it was today. So yeah, thanks for that.
My bad.
Any other final thoughts, Gino?
Yeah, look, for EMEA, you know, I think earlier on in the split, we were talking about how this is a region rebuilding, right? And I think, you know, some of the vibes we were getting from Zidane there was reflecting that and saying that we've got a couple of teams who are on the up. And I'm kind of hoping, honestly, that one of them, you know, maybe can pinch a regional finals slot next week, because I feel like there are a couple of good teams from EMEA that might miss out. Otherwise, obviously, two of these strong teams will come through the LCQs as well if they don't make it this way. But yeah, it's going to be light on with representation either way for EMEA in Sapporo, and we're really hoping that the 4 or 5 teams that do get there are the absolute best ones to represent this region.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you guys crushed it today. As always, we're going to say goodbye to you for now. And as for everybody at home, we're going to remind you, we keep talking about champs. How do you get there? How do you go? Well, ticket sales is, it's coming back. Okay. It's coming back. It's ready. It's right around the corner because we're going to Sapporo, obviously, but we want you all to be there with us as well. So if you're looking for the information on how you can get your tickets, where you can get them, when you can get them, the ticket sales will be live next week on our ticketing partners site, Zyco, on October 11th at 1 a.m. PT, 4 a.m. ET, 5 p.m. JST during our first regional final of Split 2. You can find more information as the day nears on our ALGS website's Year 5 Championships page. See all the latest information about champs here, from tickets to exciting news and updates. That way we can all look forward to seeing each other in Japan for champs. I mean, I cannot wait for this to happen. But EMEA is, of course, not the only region that we have on the docket for today. If you can't make it, or if you just want to stay up to date with anything that we've got going on throughout the rest of the season, just follow us on social media, whether that is X, YouTube, our new Insta, our new TikTok, all Play Apex Esports, or Twitch at Play Apex. That way you guys won't miss a single second of anything that we've got going on. Plus, there's some really fun content for you to check out over there as well. For now, enjoy your break. And when we return, we will find out who from the Americas will continue on to their regional finals. So we'll see you all back here in just a short while, legends.